Chapter 2347, It's about to start raining, no need. Yin Yuerong sounded resolute and decisive. I'd like to see just how capable Yi Yunma is. If she can't even overcome the obstacle of Vice President Qin and she becomes the president of the Arbitration Council and gets together with Ajio in the future, who knows what mayhem she'd get herself into. At that time, even the Yin family might be impacted. You're brilliant, madam, Auntie Qiao praised her with a smile. After leaving the Yin estate and returning to her residence, Yi Wanwan was still shaken. Yi Wanwan never expected Yin Yuerong to have so many tricks up her sleeve, nearly causing her to shed her disguise. She still greatly underestimated Yin Yuerong. After all, that woman was Ajio's mother, so how could she be a normal woman? Yi Wanwan still didn't know Yin Yuerong well. Although First Elder had scouted for some information regarding Yin Yuerong, it wasn't comprehensive. She still had to think of a method to understand Yin Yuerong better, or else one day, she would be tricked by Yin Yuerong and still be clueless. That night, after Yi Wanwan and Yi Lingjun ate dinner together, she pulled a vanishing act with Yi Lingjun's assistance and made a trip back to Yun City. She recovered her identity as Worryless Nya and intentionally appeared at the Fearless Alliance in a flashy manner. She also returned to the Nya residence many times and visited her parents while she was at it. If Yin Yuerong's scouts saw Worryless Nya with their own eyes, it should completely dissipate Yin Yuerong's suspicion toward Yi Yunma, who was far away in Tianshui City. No matter what, Yi Lingjun had helped her like this, so she couldn't easily expose herself and negatively affect Yi Lingjun's reputation, right? Especially since Vice President Qin might appear normal on the surface, but in reality, he was eyeing them covetously already. The only pitiful part about her trip to Yun City was that Tang Tang went to Yi Shuihan's place, so she didn't see him. Since her time in Yun City was limited, she didn't linger. Several days later in the Qin residence at Tianshui City, Yin Han glanced at the deeply glowering Qin Shiyuan and asked, Yuan, has something been on your mind recently? Qin Shiyuan's eyes icily glinted. What do you think? Let me guess. It's Yi Yunma, right? Yin Han asked. Why did you ask if you knew? Qin Shiyuan snorted. Yi Yunma relies on the fact that she's the president's daughter and goes about with her nose in the air. She has zero regard for my father and me. I heard that she even berated Director Yin in front of everyone. Yin Han shook his head and sighed. It can't be helped. Yi Yunma is President Yi Lingjuan's precious daughter, so she's been fated to stand high above the masses since she was born. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Even so, I'll strike her down from the clouds and slam her into the depths of an abyss with my own hands. She'll never be reincarnated. Ever since Yi Yunma appeared, all of her brilliance and splendor was stolen by that woman. Even Si Yihan, whom she secretly admired, was successfully tackled by that bitch. What right did that woman have? Something she couldn't obtain was easily stolen by that woman. Qin Shiyuan absolutely couldn't tolerate the existence of someone like that. Yuan, you mustn't be impulsive. Yin Han looked at Qin Shiyuan with a deep frown. You have to know that Yi Yunma is President Yi's daughter. If anything happened to her, even the weather would change over Tianshui City. The weather would change. Qin Shiyuan snorted. I want the sky to start raining. Yin Han wanted to say something but ended up stopping himself. Late at night, Qin Shiyuan went to Vice President Qin's study. Father, do you agree to what I said or not? Qin Shiyuan asked, looking at Vice President Qin. Chapter 2348. This risk was worth taking, what if I say no? Vice President Qin asked. If you say no, then I'd stop, but I won't spare her, Qin Shiyuan said while glowering. Go ahead then, Vice President Qin said a moment later. Joy overfilled Qin Shiyuan's face. Father, you're agreeing. Vice President Qin was quiet for another minute before looking at Qin Shiyuan. Remember, you mustn't allow anyone to gain leverage against you while doing this. You should think carefully about who you should ask to do it. I understand, Father. Qin Shiyuan nodded. After Qin Shiyuan left the study, Vice President Qin's expression chilled instantly. Lee Yun-ma must disappear permanently. Even if Lee Yun-ma died and the president found him the most likely suspect, no one could do anything to him as long as there wasn't proof. At that time, the directors he bribed would cast their votes for the next president for him. If Lee Yun-ma didn't die, the position of president would definitely fall into Lee Yun-ma's hands next term. At that time, if Lee Yun-ma discovered those shady dealings of his, this risk was worth taking. The next morning, Qin Shiyuan called In-heng to her room. In-heng, there's something I need you to do. Can you do it? Qin Shiyuan softly asked as she half leaned into In-heng's arms. In-heng embraced her with a smile. Yuan, I traversed through a mountain of swords and a sea of infernos. Eliminate Lee Yun-ma, Qin Shiyuan said. In-heng froze, his expression changing drastically. I didn't mishear, right? She wants me to eliminate Lee Yun-ma. This was harder than traversing through a mountain of swords and a sea of infernos. Yuan. In-heng looked at Qin Shiyuan. Lee Yun-ma is the president's daughter. If anything happens to Lee Yun-ma, the biggest suspects would be the Qin family and Vice President Qin. This is kindling a fire on yourself. It's no trifling matter. What? Didn't you say you traversed through a mountain of swords and a sea of infernos? You're scared this easily. Qin Shiyuan snorted. I'm not scared. I just think doing this isn't worth it. In-heng shook his head. In-heng, you're a smart person, so you should know what would happen if Lee Yun-ma doesn't die without me telling you, Qin Shiyuan said. In-heng looked at Qin Shiyuan with confusion. Yuan, what do you mean? In-heng, it appears I've overestimated you and you aren't as clever as I thought you were. No wonder you've always been beneath Si Yihan. Even though Si Yihan left for many years, he's still someone you could never surpass. Qin Shiyuan glanced at In-heng. At the mention of Si Yihan, a dark cloud appeared in In-heng's eyes. If Lee Yun-ma doesn't die, the position of the Arbitration Council president next term would definitely belong to Lee Yun-ma. And you should have heard that Lee Yun-ma is entangled with Si Yihan now. If we allowed Lee Yun-ma to become the president of the Arbitration Council, have you thought about what would happen to Si Yihan's position? Qin Shiyuan asked mockingly. This, In-heng frowned deeply. Moreover, I believe that with Lee Yun-ma's status, Director In would enthusiastically push the two of them together. Your existence would become absolutely worthless to every person, Qin Shiyuan added. In truth, Qin Shiyuan was well aware of what this man before her cared about and wanted to obtain. She had him completely within her grasp. In-heng also knew what Qin Shiyuan was saying, but the risk of killing Lee Yun-ma was truly too great. So great that a minuscule error couldn't be permitted or else he'd be beyond redemption. Chapter 2349, Ninth Brother Isn't Managing You? Qin Shiyuan added, Of course, if you're unwilling, that's fine too. After all, my father will still remain as vice president while you, In-heng, will completely lose everything and become penniless. Think about it. Then Qin Shiyuan turned to leave. Yuan, tell me. How do we eliminate Lee Yun-ma? What detailed plan do you have? In-heng looked at Qin Shiyuan. The corners of Qin Shiyuan's mouth turned up, and she immediately turned around and leaned into In-heng's arms again. It's very simple, actually. You should know about the mercenary troupe, Fengsha, right? Qin Shiyuan asked with a smile. Of course I do. They're the most mysterious mercenary group in the 12 independent states. In-heng nodded. I heard you know the head of Fengsha. Qin Shiyuan stared at In-heng. That's right, In-heng said. I do know him, but we aren't close friends. That's good. The mercenary organization, Fengsha, is very principled. You can contact the leader of Fengsha, and have him personally take care of Lee Yun-ma. As for the price, you don't need to worry about that. I'll pay whatever he wants, Qin Shiyuan said. The mercenary group Fengsha isn't easy to hire. I'll try my best, but I doubt the price they want will be cheap. In-heng was contemplative. go and try. Qin Shiyuan smiled faintly, then took advantage of Yin Heng's inattention and pressed a light kiss on his lips. Qin Shiyuan sneered inwardly. Whether Yi Yunma died or didn't die, the matter couldn't be traced back to the Qin family. The one who hired Fengsha mercenary group would be Yin Heng, so that'd be the Yin family's business. Even if Yin Heng was discovered in the end and relentlessly latched onto the Qin family, no one could do anything to the Qin family as long as they didn't admit it. That night, Yi Wanwan secretly avoided Si Yihan and called Lin Ke to meet with her. In the luxurious but simple living room, Lin Ke gulped and nervously peered at the girl sitting on the sofa. He cautiously called, "Ninth sister." Yi Wanwan grinned and said, "Good boy, foolish Ke, my god." Lin Ke was simply horrified. "Ninth sister, it really is you. Aren't you too freaking gutsy? What if you're discovered? Do you want to die?" Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. "Don't waste time. I asked you to come over for proper business. What proper business could be more important than this? You actually impersonated the president's daughter. What's going on with ninth brother? Why isn't ninth brother managing you?" Yi Wanwan rested her chin on her hand and languidly asked, "What do you think?" Lin Ke despairingly said, "I think he probably wouldn't, and he'd help her conceal it from everyone." He suddenly freaking understood. Ninth brother most likely figured it out already. Yet he didn't say anything and was cooperating with her act. As if her acting wasn't enough, his acting skills were through the roof. "Well, then that's that. What are you prattling on about?" "Fine. Ninth sister, why did you call me out here so late at night? It'd be bad if ninth brother found out." As Lin Ke spoke, he pulled his clothes close together. "Bad your ass. I have something to ask you, so tell me the truth." Yi Wanwan threatened, baring her teeth. Chapter 2350, Too shameless. Lin Ke had an ominous feeling. "What do you want to ask?" Yi Wanwan hummed. "It's about Yin Yuerong." At the sound of Yin Yuerong's name, Lin Ke acted like he heard a ghost speak and immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. "I don't know anything. I don't know anything." "Oh." Yi Wanwan raised her brows. TSK, if your ninth brother finds out you came running to my place in the middle of the night, what do you think he'd think?" Lin Ke was stupefied. "Damn. Didn't you call me over here?" Yi Wanwan had an innocent expression. "I didn't. It was clearly you who came over yourself." Lin Ke's eyes shot open. "You, what about me?" "Lin Ke, you're too shameless." Lin had no choice but to admit defeat, his head drooping. "What do you want to know about her?" Yi Wanwan thought about it. "You can tell me everything you know. For example, Yin Yuerong and Ajio's relationship." Lin Ke sighed and said, "Well, Auntie Rong, how should I describe her? Her sense of control is just too twisted and she won't permit anything related to ninth brother to escape her realm of control. Since he was young, as long as there was anything around ninth brother that was out of her control, whether it was a person or object, even a small bird, nothing would be spared. If ninth brother committed the slightest mistake, he would receive extremely severe punishment. An example of the slightest mistake could be eating an extra mouthful of rice or mispronouncing one word wrong. Can you dare to imagine how she'd make a 3-year-old child kneel in the snow in the middle of winter? When we were young, ninth brother and I rescued an injured white tiger, and my ninth brother liked that little white tiger a lot and would go play with it every day. In the end, Auntie Rong killed that little white tiger in front of ninth brother. When Yi Wanwan heard this, she frowned lightly, Great White popping up in her mind. After she recovered her memories, she realized that it was she who rescued Great White. Back when she was with Si Yihan, she encountered an injured young white tiger in the wild and felt bad for him, so she wanted to save him and bring him back. However, Si Yihan was not only unmoved but also stopped her from saving the tiger. Because of this, she even got into an argument with Si Yihan and ignored him for a long while. Thinking about it now, Si Yihan was probably so resistant and unwilling to rescue Great White because of that incident when he was young. No wonder Si Yihan developed such an antisocial and apathetic personality. Having lived under Yin Yuerong's impact and control for so long, he didn't dare to allow any person or being to get close to him. Because in his subconscious mind, he believed that he'd lose everything he possessed and everything he was close to would be destroyed. As time passed, no one dared to approach him, and he was the only one left in his world. Lin K mumbled quietly, "Do you finally know why ninth brother developed such a distorted personality? If it were anyone else, I wager they would have been forced into madness already. However, what caused Yin Yuerong to become like this?" Yi Wanwan was uncomprehending. Sigh, probably because she couldn't obtain what she wanted and became trapped with that demon. Lin K said with a sigh. Because of Ajio's father? Yi Wanwan asked. Basically, Lin K provided a simple explanation. In truth, when Auntie Rong was young, her personality wasn't like this. Auntie Rong was the sage Gu doctor's youngest, most favored disciple and was very talented in martial arts too. Plus, with her beautiful looks, many men pursued her. Of course, I heard all of this from my elders, so I only know the story roughly. Continue. Chapter 2351, Hidden Past. Lin K continued, as for ninth brother's father, Si Huaizhang, you should know that according to the rules, many people whose talents didn't meet the standards were evicted from the independent state, and many of these people created a clan and amassed power in China. They devoted their efforts to nurturing their children with the hope that they could return to the independent state one day. Si Huaizhang was one of those descendants who met the standards and was brought back to the independent state. He returned to the ancient Si clan and became very valued too. He and Auntie Rong met during a mission once, and Auntie Rong fell in love with him at first sight. She ignored all of the other outstanding pursuers wooing her and placed her heart and soul on Si Huaizhang. Unfortunately, it was unrequited. Ninth brother's father fell in love with a girl from China and even forsook the rare opportunity of returning to the independent state for that girl. He abandoned his clan and fled back to China, eloping with that Chinese girl. Yi Wanwan was astonished when she heard this. This hidden past was lost in the mists of antiquity and no one dared to mention it due to Yin Yuerong's looming intimidation, so First Elder and the others hadn't discovered this. If it weren't for Lin K, she really wouldn't know all of this. Yi Wanwan asked, and then? Lin K sighed. And then, you should know how severe the independent state's laws are, so how could the ancient Si clan tolerate something like this? In order to avoid having their clan implicated, they kept hunting Si Huaizhang. In the end, it was Auntie Rong who rescued Si Huaizhang and left the independent state for him. Lin K paused and continued, later, that Chinese girl didn't want to live in fear and trepidation anymore, so she left Si Huaizhang and got married to someone else. Because Si Huaizhang violated the laws of the independent state, he received extremely severe punishments and even dragged down his clan and parents. In the end, because of Si Huaizhang's mother's relentless imploring and persuasion, Si Huaizhang had to marry Auntie Rong. Auntie Rong's master possessed a very prestigious reputation in the independent state back then and pleaded for leniency on their behalf, so the matter was finally resolved. However, from then on, Si Huaizhang and Auntie Rong weren't allowed to return to the independent state. It was no wonder that back in China, grandmother kept saying she regretted letting Ajio's parents get together. It was because of this. After Yi Wanwan listened to this, she truly didn't know what to say. Wasn't Yin Yuerong's sacrifice too great? For a man who didn't love her, she basically abandoned everything she possessed. A woman gave so much for him. But are you saying that Si Huaizhang wasn't touched in the slightest? Yi Wanwan couldn't figure out how Si Huaizhang could fool around with so many women later and sire so many children. Lin K shrugged. I heard that their relationship after getting married was okay and they managed the Si clan in China rather well. However, later on, something melodramatic happened. Si Huaizhang's sweetheart probably didn't have a good life after getting married, so she sought out Si Huaizhang. Si Huaizhang couldn't control himself, and the two of them got together again. The corner of Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Damn. That's scummy. Thank goodness Ajio didn't inherit this trait from his father. Yi Wanwan couldn't help but ask, didn't Yin Yuerong explode with anger? Lin K immediately replied, how could she not be angry? Regardless of how much Auntie Rong liked Si Huaizhang and followed his wishes for everything, she couldn't tolerate this kind of matter. After all, what she cared about the most was Si Huaizhang's first love. So afterward, Auntie Rong wrecked the company that woman and her husband opened in a fit of anger. Chapter 2352, she probably has issues with her EQ. When Yuan Wan heard this, her expression was indescribable. Is there a problem with Yin Yuerong's EQ? By doing that, wasn't she shoving Si Huaizhang into that woman's arms? Lin K immediately praised her. You're too wise, ninth sister. That was exactly it. After that woman declared bankruptcy, she got divorced from her husband, and Si Huaizhang felt very sorry for her, so he started maintaining a relationship with her on the outside. Yuan Wan, I knew it. Lin K said, what happened after was even more melodramatic. That woman died from a car accident. She died? Then it must have been tragic for Yin Yuerong. Regardless of whether that woman's car accident was intentional or accidental, Si Huaizhang must have blamed it on Yin Yuerong. Lin K slapped his thigh and exclaimed, you're really clever again, ninth sister. Si Huaizhang got into a terrible argument with Yin Yuerong and never went home again. He fooled around outside every day, and Yin Yuerong's personality became increasingly irritable. Yuan Wan sighed. She didn't expect to hear such a theatrical story. That's rather melodramatic, Lin K pondered. I must say that Auntie Rong is seriously stubborn though. She still didn't give up and held hope towards Si Huaizhang and wouldn't divorce him. She even conjured a plan to carry ninth brother and attempted to use this child to draw Si Huaizhang back. Well, you can probably guess the final outcome. In the end, Yin Yuerong probably became truly downhearted and placed all of her hopes on ninth brother. If ninth brother's aptitude met the standards, she would be able to return to the independent state. Yuan Wan finally understood why Si Yihan had this kind of relationship with his mother. To Yin Yuerong, Si Yihan symbolized her failed romantic relationship and represented despair and betrayal. She probably didn't feel any attachment towards Si Yihan. Not only that, but she also probably resented Si Yihan for being unable to draw Si Huaizhang back to her. Yin Yuerong solely treated Ajiu as a tool for returning to the independent state and fighting for power. After discovering he was escaping her control, she immediately found a substitute, Yin Heng. Yuan Wan originally debated whether to think of a method to salvage this relationship between mother and son. Looking at it now though, Rome wasn't built in a day, and even if the Heavenly King himself came, he wouldn't be able to make these two people reconcile or change Yin Yuerong. In all fairness, if she had experienced this, she absolutely couldn't forgive the other person or dispel her ill feelings. However, no matter what, a person still shouldn't take out all their pain on a child, right? But of course, she wasn't Yin Yuerong. Yuan Wan couldn't help but comment, what should I say? With Yin Yuerong's figure and looks, she must have been gorgeous and unparalleled when she was young, right? Exactly. Even my dad was secretly in love with Auntie Rong back then. Plus, I saw a photo of that Chinese woman, and her looks aren't 1/100th of Auntie Rong's. Yuan Wan immediately asked, so then, if Yin Yuerong was beautiful, had good looks and possessed such favored terms, how did she get this outcome with such a good hand of cards? If it were me, I would have definitely grasped Si Huaizhang deathly tight in my hands the first time I saw him. That Chinese woman wouldn't be able to stick a finger into the relationship. Lin K, ninth sister, your point of focus, why is it so distorted? Am I wrong? There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. As the two of them conversed, Yuan Wan's phone started ringing. It was baby Tang Tang calling. Chapter 2353, Tang Tang takes after mommy. Yuan Wan's eyes brightened instantly. My baby Tang Tang is calling me. Alright, go back, foolish K. Lin K's face darkened. I talked to you for so long, but you won't even offer me a cup of tea and are kicking me out like this? You throw me away as soon as you don't need me anymore. Aren't you too heartless? Yuan Wan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. Am I? I think you're rather happy with gossiping. You had such a large scoop but didn't dare to tell anyone. You must have felt quite suffocated, right? Lin K, she actually saw through that. Fine, you win. After getting rid of Lin K, Yi Wanwan immediately accepted Tang Tang's call. Yi Wanwan's voice turned as gentle as water at once. Hello, baby. Tang Tang, mommy, sharply detecting something gloomy in the little fella's voice from the other end, Yi Wanwan anxiously asked at once, what happened, Tang Tang? Are you sad? Did something happen? The little fella seemed to hesitate for a moment before worriedly saying, no. Tang Tang is just worried about mommy. Mommy, is there someone bullying you? Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Huh? Bully mommy? No way. Who could be bullying mommy? After a moment, Tang Tang replied, paternal grandmother is bullying mommy. Yi Wanwan was shocked. Paternal grandmother? Tang Tang's referring to Yin Yuerong? Tang Tang answered immediately, that's right. Grandmother is very mean and very scary and won't allow you to be with daddy. And she's bullying mommy. Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Who told you this nonsense? Tang Tang acted pretty loyally and replied, I found out myself. Tell me the truth. Who told you? Uncle told me. Tang Tang added, I also heard it from Grandpa and Grandma. One word from mommy and Tang Tang immediately sold out Uncle, Grandpa, and Grandma. Yi Wanwan rubbed her forehead exasperatedly and hastily said, don't listen to their nonsense. It's completely false. Mommy didn't get bullied, and grandmother isn't that scary. Grandmother is very nice and treats mommy very well. When Yi Wanwan listened to Lin K telling her about Si Yihan's childhood, she was utterly shocked. Si Yihan was stripped of nearly all of the goodness from this world. She didn't want to let Tang Tang inherit these negative emotions or live with resentment and fear. Really? Tang Tang asked. Yi Wanwan immediately replied, of course. Would mommy lie to you? The little fella breathed a sigh of relief instantly. I believe mommy. Yi Wanwan gently said, that's right. In truth, your uncle and the others misunderstood. Your grandmother is, she has some issues with her EQ. She just doesn't appear to be easy to get along with, but she's actually a good person. Yi Wanwan tried her best to make herself forget about Yin Yuerong's chilly face and uttered those words with difficulty. Thankfully, baby Tang Tang was easy to pacify and would believe everything she said. He obediently promised her, mommy, Tang Tang understands. Tang Tang won't listen to other people's nonsense anymore. So good. As Yi Wanwan said that, she thought of something and suddenly felt slightly unnerved and sighed. Baby, mommy's really worried about your future EQ. What if you inherited your dad's and your grandmother's EQ? What would we do? Tang Tang immediately comforted her without any hesitation. Don't worry, mommy. Tang Tang takes after mommy. Yi Wanwan's eyes brightened. She was overfilled with joy. Ha ha ha, you're right, baby. My baby's EQ clearly takes after mine. Chapter 2354, He's your real son-in-law. At the same time, elsewhere, the Arbitration Council Summit was progressing intensely. The Arbitration Council Summit every year would last half a month, and if there were various affairs that required attention, it might get extended. They were currently handling the trickier and more complicated affairs at the Arbitration Council Summit this year. Yin Yuerong swept her eyes over all attendees before her gaze landed on Si Yihan. She icily said, I believe everyone is aware of the incident relating to the Rose of Death. An evil cult like the Rose of Death has always been a focal target of our Arbitration Council. And the newest leader of the Rose of Death, Worryless Nya, has always been the #1 person on the Arbitration Council's list. Worryless Nya has remained in hiding for so many years and escaped the Arbitration Council's capture. Now that she's appeared, she continues to deny her relation to the Rose of Death, but there isn't any evidence that can prove that. Are you saying we're going to spare such a large malignant tumor simply because of her empty words? When the higher-ups and directors heard Yin Yuerong's righteously indignant speech, they conversed amongst themselves and all nodded in agreement. That's right. Every leader of the Rose of Death has antagonized the Arbitration Council and blatantly ignore our laws. They've always been the biggest, malignant tumors to the Arbitration Council. We must eliminate a weed at its roots, or else the wildfire will blaze endlessly and surge again with the spring breeze. I absolutely agree with Director Ian on this point. That's right, that's right. At this moment, a cool and low voice interrupted everyone's discussion. Si Yihan glanced at Ian Yuerong aloofly. Director Ian, allow me to remind you that you also don't have any evidence to prove she's related to the Rose of Death. Director Ian snorted immediately. Don't have evidence? Back then, the Arbitration Council already discovered she possessed the Rose of Death's symbol token. For anyone who possesses that ring, it's the same as inheriting the Rose of Death. Si Yihan said, however, the reality is that the Rose of Death has vanished without a trace the past few years and has shown no signs of re-emerging. Director Ian retorted promptly, who knows if it's because she's biding her time and preserving and nurturing her power to make us lower our guards. Before convicting someone of a crime, please show your evidence, Director Ian. Don't provide baseless conjectures from start to end. I believe the Arbitration Council isn't a place that rashly convicts people. At the summit, the mother and son duo had their swords drawn and neither were willing to yield a step, filling the room with smoke. Everyone looked at each other blankly and didn't dare to interject. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Orgi Lingjun remained silently and calmly watched the duo clashing. Until, his phone suddenly vibrated several times in a row. Yi Lingjun took it out and discovered he got messages from Yi Wanwan. Dad, remember to help your son-in-law out during the meeting. Yin Yuerong is too scary and too strong. I'm seriously worried about Ajo fending her off by himself. Only you can suppress her, Dad, so I'm relying on you. Dad, Si Yihan is your real son-in-law. Moi. Yi Lingjuan's lips twitched, and his face glowered. When a girl was of age, she really had to be married off. While the mother and son duo continued to go head-to-head with each other, Yi Lingjun was madly bombarded by Yi Wanwan. In the end, Yi Lingjun broke under Yi Wanwan's continual calls of Dad, and could only clear his throat and interrupt the duo. All right, Director Ian, Director Si, stop arguing and please hear me out. Yin Yuerong and Si Yihan finally stopped after Yi Lingjun spoke, but the low pressure in the conference room persisted. Chapter 2355, I can be her guarantor for her whole life. Ahem, Director Ian, in truth, Director Si's words aren't unreasonable. Back then, the Arbitration Council did indeed act a bit carelessly in laying down an Arbitration Council kill order toward worryless Nya, Yi Lingjun said. Yin Yuerong's tone eased several degrees as she said, although the Arbitration Council issued an absolute kill order for her back then, an investigation would have occurred first after she was captured. Yet, that woman fled for so long without a word. Doesn't that completely show a guilty conscience? Si Yihan leisurely replied, You're overthinking, Director Ian. Worryless Nya left with me and spent those years away with me. Furthermore, I've already used my position as director to act as her guarantor. When Yin Yuerong saw her son still speaking on that woman's behalf at a time like this, her face turned colder. Guarantor? What a good guarantor. You can be her guarantor for now, but what about later? How long can you be her guarantor? Si Yihan replied without a trace of hesitation, her whole life. Faced with Yin Yuerong's dumbfounded expression, Si Yihan replied apathetically, I can be her guarantor for her whole life. Yin Yuerong started, You, as Yi Lingjun listened to his words and saw his unwavering gaze from start to end, praise flitted through his own eyes. Ha, I heard Director Si and worryless Nya are engaged already. Since you two will become family in the future, there doesn't seem to be any problems with Director Si's words. Many directors changed their opinions after Yi Lingjun spoke. Ahem, since she's getting married to Director Si, even if she had intentions to revolt, Director Si would conduct counterespionage on her. I think this guarantee is rather trustworthy. Yi Lingjun cleared his throat, indicating for everyone to quiet down. He then started talking business. I have a very important matter to inform everyone. In truth, concerning the Arbitration Council's laws, a large number of objections and resentments have been stacking up from the people for a long time. I think it is time to conduct a complete reform. Ling Jun possessed immense prestige, and many people expressed their support as soon as he spoke. You're right, President. Your foresight is brilliant, President. Yin Yuerong never expected Ling Jun to actually agree to amend the laws. She instantly shot up and said, President Yi, how can we change the laws passed down from our ancestors on a whim like this? You previously said that we absolutely couldn't abolish our ancestors' laws. Director Yin, please sit. I, of course, am not intending to abolish them, I am amending them. You have to understand that it is more dangerous to stop the people from speaking than to block the flow of a river. The boat can be carried by the water, but water can also overturn it. We should prioritize the people's opinions, this is more important than upholding the ancestors' rules. Of course, we can't change things at the drop of a hat. I'll have to trouble all of you to carefully discuss it in detail. Ling Jun then paused and signaled Medusa, who was nearby, before speaking. Regarding this, Director C has completed a great amount of work and analysis. I had the files copied and will now distribute them. Please take a look, everyone. Soon, Medusa handed out the copied documents to all of the higher-ups. Yin Yuerong accepted a document and immediately started flipping through it, her expression growing more terrible after every page. When she saw one of the amendments, her expression changed abruptly. What? They were going to abolish the law of prohibiting residents of the independent state from marrying people outside of the independent state? No. She absolutely wouldn't allow this type of proposed bill to pass. Chapter 2356, everything was swell if this bill passed, it'd be the same as finding worryless Nye not guilty. Furthermore, how could they allow the people of the independent state to get married to lowly outsiders and contaminate their bloodlines? Worryless Nye. It was all because of this woman. If it weren't for that woman, why would Ajio have defied her in this manner? The next day at dawn, at a private room in a tea house, Yin Heng wore a pandering smile as he looked at the man sitting in the head seat. Lord Yuan, about this matter, Yin Heng started. The man was dressed in a dirty black windbreaker and wearing a black face mask, concealing his full face. Before Yin Heng could finish, the man addressed, Lord Yuan, waved his hand and picked up the steaming tea from the table, carefully tasting it. Upon seeing this, Yin Heng didn't dare to continue and could only wait until the man spoke first. This, Lord Yuan, was the extremely elusive and famous leader of Fengsha mercenary. However, very few people had seen his real appearance. No one knew when Fengsha mercenary was established, however, they not only had mercenaries but also extremely professional assassins. In the 12 independent states, many leaders of major factions had been assassinated by assassins from Fengsha mercenary. Ah, Yin Heng. A long while later, Lord Yuan finished drinking his cup of tea and stared meaningfully at Yin Heng. Lord Yuan, if there are any problems, speak openly. We aren't strangers and our brotherhood isn't new, Yin Heng said with a faint smile. Lord Yuan nodded. All right, since you've said that, I won't beat about the bush. Yin Heng, Yi Yunma is a member of the Yi clan, right? Yin Estate could only nod and truthfully admit, indeed. To be candid with you, aside from being a member of the Yi clan, Yi Yunma is also the daughter of the current president of the Arbitration Council, Ling Jun. She recently returned from abroad. Oh. You're telling me she's the daughter of President Yi? Lord Yuan was pensive. That's right. Yin Heng nodded. Yin Heng, Fengsha has always been on good terms with the Arbitration Council, and we both stay in our own lanes. Now, you want me to accept this job. If we wanted to complete this mission, Fengsha would offend two major factions in the 12 independent states, the Yi clan and the Arbitration Council. So, tell me, is this deal worth it? Lord Yuan aloofly asked with a smile. Lord Yuan, I understand what you're saying, but I believe that with your abilities and the strength of Fengsha, taking care of Yi Yunma would be as easy as blowing off dust. Moreover, I believe that the Arbitration Council and the E-clan absolutely wouldn't discover any trace of your involvement, Yin Heng replied. Lord Yuan's lips turned up. Although that's the truth, that's not how it works. Our Feng Sha might be capable, but this mission still has risks. Brother Yin Heng, don't you agree? Yes, you're very correct, Lord Yuan, Yin Heng nodded several times. So don't hesitate to raise any terms you have, Lord Yuan. As long as you're willing to accept this mission, everything is negotiable, Lord Yuan. Lord Yuan's fingers lightly tapped against the surface of the table as he seemed to mull over something. Yin Heng could only wait quietly, not daring to disturb the man. After several minutes, Lord Yuan finally looked up at Yin again. In truth, it's not that we can't accept this mission. However, it won't be easy. Chapter 2357, Second Term. When Yin Heng heard Lord Yuan, he became invigorated. Lord Yuan, tell me. Whatever terms you want, Yin Heng, will do everything I can to fulfill them as long as I can do it. You? Lord Yuan glanced at Yin Heng and chuckled lightly. Yin Heng, it's not that old brother is looking down on you, but I'm afraid you can't fulfill my request. Although Yin Heng was chagrined, he didn't dare to retort and could only respond with a pandering smile. Lord Yuan, please lay out your thoughts. All right. Lord Yuan chuckled again. I don't care about you or any of your objectives, I just have 2 terms. My first term is that Feng Sha wants this amount. Lord Yuan extended several fingers, expressing the price mentally. This price. Isn't it a little? Yin Heng frowned deeply after seeing Lord Yuan's listed price. Wasn't he demanding an exorbitant price? Don't rush to make a decision based on the price. Hear my second term first, Lord Yuan continued. Yin Heng reined in his emotions and said with a nod, okay. Continue, Lord Yuan. For this second term, my previous sentiment still holds, I don't care about your objective. However, regardless of who obtains power in the future Arbitration Council, as long as I accomplish this mission, Feng Sha mercenary must be treated as the Arbitration Council's official mercenary, Lord Yuan said. Official, Yin Heng started cursing after his initial shock passed. This was more exorbitant than his first demand. When did the Arbitration Council ever have an official mercenary team? Especially one with a not-so-great reputation like Feng Sha. Lord Yuan, how about we discuss it some more, Yin Heng suggested after mulling it over for a moment. No need, Lord Yuan replied indifferently. Brother Yin Heng, you don't have room to negotiate here with me. Whether it's the first term or the second term, you must do as I ask. Of course, both sides have to be willing in a business deal. If you're not willing, then we can say we merely met to catch up today and share a cup of tea together. It's not a problem. Lord Yuan, regarding the price, there shouldn't be a problem, but, if you want to make Feng Sha the Arbitration Council's official mercenary group, well. I'm afraid it's not something I can decide, Yin Heng answered with a furrow of his brows. Oh. Lord Yuan snorted. What, Brother Yin? Are you playing with me? If you can't even decide a trivial matter like this, why did you invite me here? Lord Yuan, wait a moment. The next second, Yin Heng called Qin Shiyuan. The call ended within a minute and Yin Heng turned to Lord Yuan again. I agree to both of your terms, Lord Yuan. Should we go through the formalities and sign a paper contract? Brother Yin Heng, that won't be necessary. I believe Brother Yin Heng wouldn't dare to go back on your word. After saying that, Lord Yuan threw down several bills on the tea table. I will pay for the tea today. Then he left the tea house. Yin Heng finally heaved a sigh of relief as he watched Lord Yuan's departing figure. This man might look harmless but he terrified him. Especially that sentence, you won't go back on your word. Indeed, if Yin Heng went back on his word and didn't fulfill his promise to Feng Sha, an abyss would await him. However, since the leader of Feng Sha, Lord Yuan, agreed to the deal of assassinating Yi Yunma, Yin Heng could relax. In this world, there was nearly nothing Feng Sha couldn't accomplish if they wanted to. See Yihan, did you think you latched onto Yi Lingjuan's daughter? What you're clutching will end up becoming a corpse. You're fated to be beneath me for eternity and will never win. Ian Hang's eyes were stormy as his lips curled up into an icy smile. Chapter 2358, Do You Deserve It? Late at night, in the residency Ling Jun prepared for Yi Wanwan, Yi Wanwan's eyes shot open. For some reason, she sensed movement outside the house and called housekeeper Wu several times, but no one responded. Yi Wanwan immediately dressed herself and walked toward the living room. Pa! Yi Wanwan flipped on the light switch in the living room, but the room didn't light up as she expected. Yi Wanwan didn't give up and persistently flipped it several more times but received the same results. The power's out? Yi Wanwan was puzzled. In all her time in the independent state, she'd never heard about the power going out. Miss E, don't waste your time. The electrical circuit has been cut, so you won't be able to turn on the lights in this house. In the midst of Yi Wanwan's confusion, a crystal-clear voice rang out from the sofa. Who? This abrupt voice startled Yi Wanwan, an incredulous expression on her face. Where were they? This was the house Yi Ling Jun, the president of the arbitration council, arranged for his daughter, Yi Yunma. Although it wasn't tightly guarded, it would be a lunatic's ravings to circumvent all of the security and guards and infiltrate this place. Who in the world was this man? However, this man's voice sounded faintly familiar, giving her a sense of déjà vu. However, Yi Wanwan couldn't recall it at this very second. Heh. Miss E, you don't need to know who I am. You don't have the right to know either, the man replied with an airy chuckle. As the man spoke, he lit a cigarette, the weak flame akin to the bright ray of the sun in this pitch-black house. In truth, Yi Wanwan and Yi Ling Jun had discussed the recent circumstances, and Yi Ling Jun mentioned that Yi Wanwan's appearance would surely damage many people's prospects, so some people might act secretly. Swish! Instantly, a chilly glint surfaced in Yi Wanwan's eyes, and she attacked the man. Regardless of who this man was or his purpose, she had to capture him first and interrogate him. Yi Wanwan was incredibly fast, but despite that, she still wasn't a match for the man. When Yi Wanwan reached the sofa, the man had stood up and left already and was standing in a corner of the living room. Ha, I really couldn't tell Miss Yi's abilities had gotten to this extent. The man smiled at Yi Wanwan with a puff of smoke. There are many things you don't know. Yi Wanwan's voice was bone-chilling. Miss E, you don't have to worry too much for now. I didn't mean anything by paying you this late-night visit, I merely wanted to say hello to you, Miss E. Is this how you treat all of your visiting? The man asked with amusement. Guest? Yi Wanwan snorted. Do you deserve special treatment? Ha, everyone says Miss E is arrogant to her bones, and it's truly a well-deserved reputation. I've finally witnessed it for myself today. The man chuckled. Upon hearing silence from Yi Wanwan, the man continued, Doesn't Missy want to know the purpose of my visit today? I'm listening, Yi Wanwan said. Ha, in truth, I didn't have much reason to come here tonight. I simply wanted to inform you, Miss E, that I'll personally strip away your life in the next few days, the man announced with a calm tone. Strip away my life? Yi Wanwan's lips turned up. I don't think that's necessary. Now is the perfect opportunity to take my life. Why don't you give it a try right now? Chapter 2359, Give me a look of your treasure, Miss E, that would be too meaningless, the man said. Taking your life right now would truly be too easy. That way, there wouldn't be any challenge and that isn't my style. Hence, I thought I'd better inform Miss E first. Only after Miss E is on her guard and I finish my mission would there be a sense of achievement. What do you think, Miss E? You might be too arrogant, Yi Wanwan mocked. In terms of arrogance, I pale in comparison to Miss E, the man retorted. Before Yi Wanwan could say anything else, the man continued, Please remember, Miss E, that you have 3 days at most. I will attack during any of these days. I hope Miss E will add some difficulty for me or else it'd be utterly meaningless to me. Then the man acted like a whiff of wind and swiftly opened the window and jumped out, disappearing without a trace. At the same time, Yu Wanwan's frowned deeply. Just what was this man's background? That night, Yu Wanwan barely slept a wink. When the sun rose on the horizon the next morning, Yu Wanwan left her residence and headed for the Yi residence to seek out Yi Lingjun. After listening to Yu Wanwan's reiteration of last night's incident, Yi Lingjun tilted his head pensively. Increase his difficulty. How interesting, Yi Lingjun remarked. Don't interesting me. Your daughter was nearly assassinated, yet you're amazed here. Yu Wanwan exasperatedly rolled her eyes at Yi Lingjun. What do you mean nearly assassinated? Aren't you standing here perfectly fine? I think this nearly is thousands of miles from the truth, no? Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Was this the proper attitude of a dad? That's because he thought it was simple and didn't want to act, Yi Wanwan explained. Simple? Yi Lingjun stared at Yi Wanwan, his lips turning up. To me, taking you on is hell mode and not simple at all. Your elderly self knows nothing, alright? Yi Wanwan glanced at Yi Lingjun. That man last night came and went without a trace. His strength was absolutely, super top tier. I barely escaped with my life. Yi Lingjun nodded lightly and looked at her. What? Should I mobilize a military brigade to safeguard you? Yi Wanwan's eyes lit up. Of course. But a brigade is too much, a company would be enough. Hold on. Yi Lingjun pursed his lips. After something like this happened, you should have gone to find that punk Si Yihan to protect you, right? Why did you come running to me immediately? Yi Wanwan smiled. I'm currently Yi Yunma. After an incident like this occurred, wouldn't it be a joke if I went to find Ajio and other people found out about it? I'd be disgracing your esteemed reputation. Think about it, something happened to your dear daughter, but she didn't come to find you and went off to another man instead. What would happen to your old face? Old face? Yi Lingjun furrowed his brows. No, young face, Yi Wanwan hastily corrected herself. Alright, stop bootlicking me. This is a minor matter for you, so resolve it yourself, Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Is he serious? Yi Wanwan wanted to say something else, but Yi Lingjun waved his hand and interrupted her. He stared at her and said, Come on, take out your treasure and give me a look. Chapter 2360, You are very correct, treasure. Yi Wanwan was startled. What treasure? Where did the treasure come from? I don't have any treasure. Are you still pretending? Did you think you could hide it from me with that petty trick? Enough nonsense, take it out, Yi Lingjun said. Can't you give me a hint? I really don't know, Yi Wanwan quickly said. Hint? Yi Lingjun smiled faintly. Pa. Yi Wanwan. Of course, you can also interpret it as bang bang bang, Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan, how did this old devil know? Doesn't he know too much? Take it out already. Are you waiting for me to take it out for you? Yi Lingjun shot Yi Wanwan a look from the corner of his eyes. With a hint of embarrassment on her face, Yi Wanwan had no choice but to pull out a gun from her pocket and gently place it on the table. Yi Lingjun stared at the gun on the table and peered left and right, examining it for several solid minutes before snorting. Real thing, huh? Nice. Quite gutsy. Don't you know firearms are the biggest taboo in the independent state? You dared to commit such a fundamental error. Yi Wanwan ingratiatingly smiled. Sir Father, look, the independent state is so dangerous. Am I not carrying this thing for self-defense? Anyway, it's not like I used it. This gun was secretly snatched when Si Xia launched his final attack in Yun City. After coming to Tianshui City, it was a perfect means of protection for her. Sir Father, look, I'm Yi Yunma. Yi Yunma has lived abroad for so many years and has a gun permit, Yi Wanwan continued. Are you serious? Are we abroad? Yi Lingjun asked. It hasn't been long since Yi Yunmo returned to the independent state, so isn't it reasonable that she doesn't know the rules of the independent state? As they say, the ignorant are faultless, Yi Wanwan replied with a light chuckle. You're very correct. Yi Lingjun nodded and promptly took away the gun on the table. I still have to confiscate it. Damn it. Yi Wanwan wished nothing more than to glare Yi Lingjun to death. This was her life-saving treasure. What? You're mad. Yi Lingjun mocked her. Fine, you win. You won't dispatch people to protect me, and you actually confiscated my treasure. Fine, you win. Humph. Yi Wanwan turned to leave. Come back here, Yi Lingjun ordered. What do you want, old father? Yi Wanwan asked with irritation. Yi Lingjun looked around him and ascertained there wasn't anyone there before secretively saying to Yi Wanwan, come closer. Yi Wanwan walked over and stopped next to Yi Lingjun. Yi Lingjun pulled out the drawer underneath his desk. Yi Wanwan froze in her spot instantly. This was a full drawer of treasures. Hee hee. What was that toy you had? It's too trashy and can only fire a few bullets. If you miss, wouldn't you be screwed then? Anyway, the range isn't good enough and it's too noisy and conspicuous. After saying that, Yi Lingjun pulled one out from the drawer and handed it to Yi Wanwan. Look at this one. The range is far, it's quiet, the bullets change quickly. Most importantly, Yi Lingjun took out a black silencer. Combined with this piece, you'd truly be killing people without anyone finding out. It's excellent. Yi Wanwan, this was the He Lianjue she knew. That's right. Yi Wanwan never expected Yi Lingjun to possess so many treasures as the president of the arbitration council. He was the person who ignored the fundamental rules the most, wasn't he? Chapter 2361, Is there something wrong with your head? Come, I'll give you some more bullets. You can resist an army of 1,000 now, no? Yi Lingjun said with a chuckle. Yi Wanwan quietly put away the treasure. These next few days, you'd be better staying at home and refraining from going outside. I'll mobilize some people to guard the perimeters of your place, Yi Lingjun added. Understood. Yi Wanwan nodded. In reality, now that she possessed this treasure, what manpower did she need? After leaving the Yi residence, Yi Wanwan returned to her residence and stayed home for a whole 3 days. In these 3 days though, the man didn't appear. Yi Wanwan couldn't help but snort. He declared he would strip away her life within 3 days, but there wasn't a trace of him. About a week later, it was late at night again when an odd noise rang out in the house. Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. This time, she learned her lesson and quietly flipped on the lights in her bedroom first. However, just like last time, the circuits might have been cut and the light didn't turn on. Yi Wanwan loaded the bullets and slowly treaded out of her bedroom. Miss Yi, my sincerest apologies. I had business the past couple of days, so I was delayed. I didn't make Miss Yi wait too long, right? The man's voice came from the usual place. No worries. I'm very curious though, who sent you to kill me? Yi Wanwan asked. Miss Yi, everything regarding our employers is confidential, the man replied in good humor. Is that so? Yi Wanwan's lips curled up as she pointed the dark end of the gun toward the man. What if I ask you now? Is it still confidential? With the faint moonlight outside, the man saw the gun in Yi Wanwan's hand. You're the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, yet you break the rules and use firearms? The man furrowed his brows. Break the rules. That'd require someone to find out first, no? As Yi Wanwan spoke, she put on the gun's silencer. Look, my place has decent soundproofing already, and when I add this, no one will notice. No one will know you died. No one will know how you died. Since you won't say, I don't want to know. Goodbye. Yi Wanwan's lips curled up, and she gently pulled the trigger. However, a second later, there wasn't a decibel of noise. Damn. How come there isn't any sound with this silencer? Yi Wanwan was astonished. Ha, I don't think it's the silencer that's making it noiseless, Miss E. I wager you don't have any bullets inside your gun. The man's voice was still present. Yi Wanwan's brows locked together and she opened the magazine and indeed, the bullets she loaded earlier had disappeared without a trace. Where were her bullets? Miss E, are these yours? The man extended his hand and carelessly tossed some bullets onto the floor. When? Yi Wanwan was stunned. This man stole her bullets? Ha, Miss Wanwan, you might be overly underestimating my strength. The man shook his head and reached into his pockets, also drawing out a gun. The black end pointed precisely at Yi Wanwan. Evidently, this man also didn't care about the rules. Thankfully, she wore a bulletproof vest. As long as she didn't get hit in the head, she would be fine. Alright, Miss E, everything will end now. May I ask what final words you have to say? The man asked. Before Yi Wanwan could respond, a ringtone resounded in the room. The man looked apologetically at Yi Wanwan. Miss E, please wait a moment. I will take this call first. He then ignored Yi Wanwan and took out his phone. Nameless Nya, is there something wrong with your head? Don't you know I'm carrying out a mission? Why are you calling me? The man sounded disgruntled. Chapter 2362, He wants to kill me. Yi Wanwan was startled. Whose name did he say just now? Nameless Nye. Yi Wanwan even thought she had misheard. However, in the silent night, Yi Wanwan could faintly hear a familiar voice from the other end of the phone. What mission? You're not giving me a share. The man snorted. What mission could it be? Didn't I tell you last time? Kill the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president. I remember now. How's the compensation? You should know about a mission like this. The risk we undertake is high, so the compensation is naturally satisfactory, otherwise, I wouldn't want to take it, the man replied. Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded. Wasn't he carrying out his mission? Why is he starting a long phone conversation? Next time you have a mission like this, call me up. What? You need money again? The man smiled. Ling Miao's current treatment costs a lot of money. I understand. Tell me when you need money. After I finish this mission, I'll send you the money. Also, I asked about Ling Miao for you. There are several specialists overseas, so I'll invite them here so they can analyze Ling Miao's situation, the man said after a moment of thought. Okay. Talk to you later, I'm busy right now. Got it. I'll let you go. The man hung up afterward. The man's gaze landed on Yi Wanwan again, his lips turning up. Miss E, sorry about my friend calling and making you wait. Let's start over again. Your friend is Nameless Nye. The corners of Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. What? You want to act all familiar with me? Sorry, but it won't work with me, the man mocked her. Act your ass. Yi Wanwan called Nameless Nye immediately. What's happening? Nameless Nye's voice came from the other end. Nameless Nye, your friend wants to kill me. Yi Wanwan hastily cried. My friend? Wants to kill you? Nameless Nye sounded baffled. Yi Wanwan immediately turned on the speaker. It's the friend who you called just now. His mission's target is me. Talk to him yourself. Before Nameless Nye could say anything else, Yi Wanwan directly tossed the phone at the man across the room. The man frowned slightly and caught the phone but hung up. He then pulled out his own phone and dialed Nameless Nye's number. Hey! What mission did you accept? Nameless Nye questioned. Assassinating Yi Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council President, Yi Lingjun, the man replied, his voice puzzled. If you're assassinating Yi Lingjun's daughter, why did my sister call me and tell me you're assassinating her? Nameless Nye turned more baffled. You're talking about Worryless Nye? I'm assassinating Worryless Nye. Is there something wrong with your head, Nameless Nye? Hold on, let me hang up. The man then ended the call and started a video call instead. The man held the gun in his left hand and the phone in his right hand, slowly stepping closer to Yuan. Soon, Yuan saw nameless Nya on the other man's phone screen. Brother! It's him! He wants to kill me! Yuan screamed at nameless Nya. Worryless, nameless Nya was startled when he saw Yuan. The man froze in his spot when he saw this brother and sister reuniting. You're worryless Nya. But you don't look alike. Aren't you Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council president? How did you turn into worryless Nya? Chapter 2363, Rejected 8 times, Yuan Shao, fuck your grandpa, fuck your, nameless Nya launched a tirade of curses from the other end. Yuan Shao. Yuan stared at the man in astonishment. So it's that guy. No wonder his voice sounded familiar. Yuan knew Yuan Shao many years ago when she was still in the independent state and hadn't gone to China yet. Back then, Yuan Shao and nameless Nya were diehard friends and often carried out all kinds of missions together, and Yuan had accompanied them several times. Yuan stripped the man of his black mask. When she saw that face clearly, she was at a loss for words. It really was Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao, you stupid idiot. If my younger sister is missing even a strand of hair, I will murder you. Alright, don't scream abuse in the street like a fishwife. You're so boorish. Why are you blaming me anyway? How would I know the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, Yunma, was worryless Nya? Did you know? Yuan Shao demanded with a frown. How would I know? Nameless Nya snapped brusquely. Nameless Nya, if even you, her real brother, didn't know, how could I have known? Where do you get the nerve to insult me? Scram! Yuan Shao hung up the video call, not giving nameless Nya another opportunity to launch into a tirade. A moment later, Yuan Shao and Yuan stared at each other. You don't look like her. You also aren't as good-looking as before. How did you change so much? Your looks have worsened. Yuan Shao stared at Yuan, an expression of agony on his face. Yuan, isn't there a problem with this fool's focus? Shouldn't he ask me why I became Yunma? Also, my looks worsened. Is he blind? I clearly made a comeback, alright? Worryless Nya, what the heck are you doing? Weren't you in Yun City? Why are you in Tianshui City now and why did you become Yilingjuan's daughter? Yuan Shao was very confused. None of your business, Yuan replied. Yuan Zhao's phone started ringing again. Yuan Shao, I'm gonna your grandfather. Nameless Nya resumed his yelling. Nameless Nya, I'll your grandfather. Not to be outdone, Yuan Shao cursed back before hanging up. Worryless Nya, your brother is so crude, Yuan Shao said to Yuan. Yuan glanced at Yuan Shao. Did he learn his insults from you? A real man doesn't boast about his past achievements, that's in the past. Oh right, I heard nameless Nya mention that you ran off to China in the years you disappeared. Why? Yuan Shao inquired curiously. Don't waste my time. Hurry and put my house's circuits back together, Yuan irritatedly ordered him. Do you think I know how to restore them simply because I know how to cut them? Will you go or not? Yuan furrowed her brows. Fine. Minutes later, the light in the living room finally lit up again. Yuan sat on the sofa, carefully examining Yuan Shao. It had been many years, but the man didn't seem to look any different. His face was still as handsome as before without a sign of age. Yuan still vaguely remember how Yuan Shao confessed to her 8 times back then and was heartlessly rejected by her all 8 times. When Yuan saw Yuan Shao was about to say something, she promptly interrupted him. Don't, you're a good person. Worryless Nya, what's wrong with you? How did you know what I was going to say? Yuan Shao demanded. Yuan stared at Yuan Shao. I'm used to it. Yuan Shao, let me ask you first, just who made you come here to kill me? Yi Wanwan asked. Yuan Shao shook his head. No one made me come here to kill you. They wanted me to kill the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, Yi Yunma. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. She resisted the desire to spit out a profanity. Then, who asked you to come here to kill Yi Yunma? That I can't tell you. We must keep the client's information confidential. This is a fundamental principle, or else how would I survive if other people found out? Yuan Shao replied. Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes and pulled out the Tang backsword underneath the table, her smile affable. Oh, fundamental principle. Yuan Shao declared solemnly, I actually don't have many principles. Yi Wanwan roared, spit it out already. Yuan Shao dug into his ear, his face satisfied. Sigh, your looks might have worsened, but thankfully, your temper is still as likable as before. Are you Duem? Yi Wanwan asked. Why didn't she realize this fool was masochistic in the past? Chapter 2364, A Dry Faggot on a Blazing Fire. It's not that I don't want to tell you, it's that I can't tell you. Yuan Shao considered it for a moment before saying, you should know about my line of work. It's one thing if I don't finish the mission. If I reveal the employer's identity and information, that's too much. Even I wouldn't be able to look at myself. Yi Wanwan's lip twitched. Was Yuan Shao playing with her? Will you tell me or not? Yi Wanwan glared at him. I also want to tell you, but I really can't tell you. There is one thing though. With your intelligence and wisdom, you can think about it yourself and analyze it a little. Who would gain the most if Yi Yunma, the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president, died? Yuan Shao asked quietly, staring at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan frowned lightly when she heard that. When Yi Lingjun announced her return in such a high-profile manner and informed everyone that his daughter would start working at the Arbitration Council, he was basically treating and training her as the heir of the Arbitration Council. Forget about everything else, but the mere point of training her as the heir of the Arbitration Council would impact the interests of too many people. And the one who would lose the most would be Vice President Qin of the Arbitration Council. If she hadn't appeared, then the position of the Arbitration Council's president would undoubtedly go to Vice President Qin after Yi Lingjuan's term ended. However, everything changed following her appearance. So, you're insinuating it was Vice President Qin? Yi Wanwan asked Yuan Shao. Worryless nya, I didn't say anything about Vice President Qin. Yuan Shao shook his head. Do you think Vice President Qin is stupid? Even if Vice President Qin had those intentions, he wouldn't be the one making a personal appearance. Forget about him, not a single person from the Qin family would appear. If a plot came to light, no one would be able to follow the trail to the Qin family. They've never lacked a scapegoat. So what you're saying is, Vice President Qin found a scapegoat and had the scapegoat meet with you and issued this mission. Whether this mission is accomplished or not, the Arbitration Council could merely track down the scapegoat no matter how much they investigated, and they wouldn't discover a single connection to Vice President Qin, Yi Wanwan said after a moment of thought. Ha, worryless, you said it all yourself. I didn't say anything. Moreover, I didn't name Vice President Qin, I merely followed your path of thought and made some speculations. You yourself said there's a scapegoat, so I only know who the scapegoat is at most. How could I know the mastermind? You're better off thinking about it yourself. Yi Wanwan hummed in thought. She was almost certain that the person who wanted her life was connected to the Qin family, and the scapegoat Yuan Shao mentioned might very well be Yin Heng. After saying that, Yuan Shao lit a cigarette and took a few puffs before turning to the contemplative Yi Wanwan. He clapped her on the shoulder and said, all right, it's a bunch of dry sticks on a blazing fire when a man and woman are alone. It's not good to stay in the same room together. I'll leave now or else your brother will fight with me for 3 days if he finds out. Contact me if you need anything else. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. What freaking dry sticks on a blazing fire, he clearly wanted to kill her just a moment ago. Yi Wanwan had just said that when footsteps were heard from the door. Then the door was opened and Si Yihan appeared in sight with Lin Ke, who was staring at Yuan Shao and her in stupefaction, behind him. Chapter 2365, Whoever has a partner is a dog. Yuan Wan, what kind of sin did I commit? Why did Si Yihan come over at this exact moment? And no one notified me ahead of time. Oh right, she remembered now. She previously told the housekeeper that if the visitor was Si Yihan, a notification wasn't necessary and they could allow him to enter directly. She seriously shot herself in the foot. Yuan Wan stood up at the brink of a breakdown. Ajio, why are you here? She simply wanted to die. What kind of terrible luck did she have? Why did her baby run into this kind of scene every single time? This was simply heinous. When Si Yihan saw the man in the room, only surprise appeared on his face. He didn't say anything and coolly looked at Yuan Shao next to her. In the back, Lin Ke quietly mumbled, a man and a woman together in a room alone. What's going on? Yuan Wan instantly bristled. A man and a woman together in a room alone, your ass. This guy is an assassin. He came here to kill me tonight. Lin Ke's expression was difficult to describe. Ninth sister, I think you can find a better excuse with slightly more intelligence. That's the truth, alright? Baby, you must believe me, right? Yuan Wan pitifully turned to Si Yihan. I believe you, Si Yihan replied. Yuan Wan relaxed. Lin Ke looked incredulous though, and even Yuan Shao appeared astonished. He believes that. Lin Ke couldn't help but say, are you dumb, ninth brother? You'd even believe that? If this guy is an assassin, why isn't he killing her? Although Yuan Wan really wanted to punch Lin Ke, she couldn't refute this in any manner. At this moment, Yuan Shao walked forward with a grin. As he surveyed Si Yihan imperceptibly, he languidly said, she actually isn't lying to you. I really am an assassin, but it's coincidental now that you mention it. After I accepted the mission and came here, I realized the target of my mission was my old lover. So of course I couldn't go through with it. Yuan Wan, Si Yihan, Lin Ke was dumbstruck. Old lover. Yuan Wan was nearly angered to death. Shut up. Are we close friends? It was clearly you who had one-sided impure motives toward me, alright? Yuan Shao shook his head with a sigh. Since ancient times, love has led to sad endings. They only hear a newcomer's laugh, but no one hears the old cry. Little worryless, you've disappointed me too much. How could you like someone like him? I can tell he's cold and boring and uninteresting with a look and he can't party with you. What happened to the promise of roaming the world with me, huh? Yuan Wan glared at him. Party your ass. I like to stay at home and not go anywhere. Yuan Shao looked accusatory. Fine, party my ass. But what about the promised us friends walk through life together and whoever has a partner is a dog? Yuan Wan, woof. Woof woof woof. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Org, I'm willing to be a dog. What about it, huh? Yuan Shao, fine, you win. Lin Ke was also stunned by Yuan Wan's shamelessness. Si Yihan's gaze sharpened. What happened? This was Yilingjuan's territory, so how could there be an assassin? Baby, sit down, sit down. I'll carefully explain it to you. Yuan Wan gently looked at Si Yihan before turning around and sending Yuan Shao a warning look. Yuan Zhao's face filled with grief and indignation, as though he was looking at a piece of scum. Worryless nya, I didn't expect you to be the kind of person who puts their hoes before bros. I misjudged you before. Yuan Wan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. When haven't I? Fine, I can only blame myself for being young and unable to differentiate a person from a dog. Yuan Shao choked with anger and opened the window, disappearing with a leap. Chapter 2366, Come here to keep you company every day, damn it. Why was this bastard's line so freaking strange? He made it sound like she was a scummy jackass. Yuan Wan reflexively looked outside the window. There was no trace of a person. She had to say though, Yuan Shao seriously came and went without a trace. Yi Lingjun had arranged many guards and scouts in the surroundings, but Yuan Shao still managed to saunter inside brazenly. Yi Wanwan originally wondered if Vice President Qin's people were mixed in with those guards and scouts, so they pretended they didn't see Yuan Shao when they saw him. However, on second thought, she found that pretty improbable. These people were all personally chosen by Yi Lingjun, so they couldn't possibly share any connections with Vice President Qin. After Yuan Shao left, Yi Wanwan immediately plastered herself to see Yihan. Hee, baby, I'm good, right? I plucked all the rotten peach blossoms myself. At that moment, all the coldness in Si Yihan's eyes had transformed into warmth and disapproval filled his gaze. Don't talk about yourself like that again. Yi Wanwan immediately replied, it's nothing. It's good as long as you're happy. Lin Ke feebly grumbled, I actually think she was telling the truth. It's you who has mistaken knowledge of ninth sister, right ninth brother. Si Yihan aloofly glanced at Lin Ke and Lin Ke immediately sealed his mouth. Fine, your wife is the best. Your wife is the purest and most flawless person. Your wife is the kindest little angel in the world. After sitting down, Yi Wanwan started explaining to Si Yihan. Someone sent an assassin to assassinate me tonight, but that assassin picked up a call and it was actually my brother calling. Then I discovered this assassin was someone I knew, he's my brother's best friend named Yuan Shao. Lin Ke was shocked. Someone sent an assassin to assassinate you? But you're Yi Yunmo right now. Who has the guts? Yi Wanwan replied, well, Yuan Shao didn't tell me that. They have rules and can't reveal their clients' information. However, based on the information he provided, I can basically guess who it was. Qin Zong, Si Yihan said a name point blank. However, he wouldn't appear personally, so the most probable person to do this for him would be Yin Heng. Admiration immediately filled Yi Wanwan's face. You're seriously too clever, baby. I didn't tell you anything yet, but you've guessed everything already. Seeing the worry on Si Yihan's face, Yi Wanwan quickly comforted him, don't worry, baby, aren't I fine? In truth, Vice President Qin isn't a major problem since I still have Yi Lingjun holding the fort at least. Anyway, my identity is also fake, so I can find an appropriate opportunity to extract myself at any time and won't be in any danger. Her true worry was still Yin Yuerong. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Org after her previous attempt to expose her failed, Yin Yuerong hadn't acted. Yi Wanwan had a feeling that Yin Yuerong wouldn't leave the matter at that though. Si Yihan also knew Yi Wanwan was right, but he couldn't take any risks. Starting tonight, I will come here to keep you company, Si Yihan announced. Yi Wanwan was startled briefly before her eyes started glowing and she bobbed her head eagerly. Really? Sure. She never expected to have gained something from a misfortune. However, if Si Yihan came here to keep her company, she must make things clear with the housekeeper and couldn't allow a second Su Yang. Don't worry about Third Elder. They've released him, Si Yihan said. That's good. It appeared Yin Yuerong had released Third Elder since Third Elder had lost all value, combined with pressure from Si Yihan. Chapter 2367, especially thick thigh. Oh right, have your meetings gone smoothly recently? Yi Wanwan asked. Si Yihan replied, with President Yi's support, they've been fairly smooth now. Moreover, Yi Wanwan had been showcasing high-profile public displays of affection as Yi Yunma on her end, winning a lot of support for Si Yihan. Yi Wanwan hummed. From what I know, even with Yi Lingjuan's support, such a large reformation won't be passed so easily, right? I remember the Arbitration Council has a rule that the amendment of major bills requires the unanimous approval of every member. Yes, Si Yihan replied. Yi Wanwan, so even if they won over everyone, how would they overcome the barrier of Yin Yuerong? Based on Yin Yuerong's personality, she absolutely wouldn't approve the passing of the proposed law, right? Yi Wanwan felt more convicted of this after learning about Yin Yuerong's history with Si Huaizhang. Back then, Si Huaizhang eloped with a woman outside of the independent state, so how could Yin Yuerong agree to lift the restrictions on marriage? Don't worry. A dark glint flitted across Si Yihan's eyes. Everyone has their weakness, and she's no exception. However, until it reached that point, he didn't want to employ that method. After all, he managed to crawl out of the mud pit with great difficulty. He didn't want to become someone just like her. As they spoke, Yi Wanwan's phone started ringing. It was nameless Nya calling. Yi Wanwan answered the call immediately. Hey, brother. Worryless, where's that guy, Yuan Shao? Did he leave? Nameless Nya inquired immediately. Yi Wanwan nodded. Amichum, he left already. Be careful when you're alone at home, Nameless Nya reminded her. Yi Wanwan grinned. It's fine, Ajio's here. Upon hearing that, Nameless Nya released a sigh of relief. Oh, brother-in-law is there. That's good. I feel at ease then. He seriously felt reassured by Si Yihan. After a moment of silence, Nameless Nya lowered his voice and said, Worryless, brother knows you and brother-in-law have given a lot of care to the bill and also knows how difficult this matter is. You don't need to force yourself. If it was an easy matter, the dispute wouldn't have persisted until now. If worse comes to worst, I'll take Ling Miao and leave the independent state. Nameless Nya had changed greatly. All the ruthlessness around him had dissipated. The moment he resisted against the whole world and she stood on his side without any second thought, he felt redeemed. Moreover, Ling Miao didn't die and gave him hope again, finally untying the knot in his heart. Yi Wanwan gently said, Brother, things haven't reached that point yet, so we have a lot of hope. I latched onto an especially thick thigh. No wait, strictly speaking, it was that thigh who insisted on following me and making me latch onto it. Nameless Nya was baffled. Especially thick thigh. Who? My dad. Yi Ling Jun, Nameless Nya. Nameless Nya hastily pressed. Oh right, I haven't asked you yet, how did you sneak into the Yi clan? When did Yi Ling Jun go blind? How could he not recognize his own daughter? Yi Wanwan replied, what if I said it was Yi Ling Jun who forced me to be his daughter? Nameless Nya increased his volume and shouted, brother-in-law, are you there? I think you need to be concerned about my sister's psychological state. Yi Wanwan pulled the phone farther from Si Yihan. Shoo! My psychological state is perfectly fine. Yi Wanwan irritatedly explained the situation to Nameless Nya and reassured him. This way, he could help cover for her, or else their parents would definitely explode if they found out she secretly came to Tianshui City in search of Si Yihan. The next morning. The sky brightened and soon, it was time for another day of meetings. Si Yihan had never arrived late to a single meeting, but at this moment, as he watched the girl in his arms snuggling close to him like a kitten, he had no desire to shift a centimeter. Until knocking was heard on the door and a housekeeper entered with a trap in hand. Eldest Miss, before the housekeeper could finish speaking, her gaze landed on the bed and discovered a man in their eldest Miss's bed. Crash. In her shock, the housekeeper shattered the tray she was holding. Housekeeper Wu. What is it? Yi Lingjun's nervous voice trailed from behind. Yi Lingjun hastily sprinted inside, his gaze locked on the two people on the bed, his mind dumbstruck. Chapter 2368, Did you think I was vegetarian? President, after a moment of feeling flabbergasted, the housekeeper recognized the man in the bed and became more stunned. Wasn't this Director C? Wasn't Eldest Miss too astounding? She originally thought Eldest Miss was merely expressing affection for Director C, but it had only been a few days yet Eldest Miss had already drawn him to her bed. Moreover, didn't Director C have a fiancé? So noisy. Seeing Yi Wanwan awoken by the noise, Si Yihan frowned and comfortingly patted her on the head. It's nothing, keep sleeping. The gentle voice lured Yi Wanwan back to dreamland. Si Yihan rose with extremely gentle motions before looking at Yi Lingjun and requesting him to move elsewhere to talk. President, if you please. Yi Lingjun looked at Yi Wanwan's careless behavior and angrily glared at her before dismissing the housekeeper and walking to the living room with Si Yihan. Si Yihan and Yi Lingjun were the only people in the living room. Director Si, shouldn't you give me an explanation for today? Yi Lingjun's expression was menacing. It's my fault. Si Yihan didn't attempt to defend himself and admitted his error directly. This attitude made Yi Lingjun unable to unleash even a tinge of his wrath. I would like to hear where your fault lies, Yi Lingjun sternly demanded, resembling a father-in-law testing his son-in-law, his position stauncher than Yi Wanwan's real dad, Nye Huili. Si Yihan replied, I should have considered the impact on Wanwan. Yi Lingjun harumphed. You still remember the impacts? Even if you're in a relationship with my girl, you still haven't married yet. What proper behavior is it to spend the night together? You're extremely right, President, Si Yihan agreed. Anyhow, Si Yihan seriously listened to everything Yi Lingjun said and neither justified himself nor answered back. He even admitted his wrong of his own volition, and with a few words, he managed to dissolve over half of Yi Lingjun's anger. Yi Lingjun nodded in satisfaction. As long as you're aware. You're fine, but you still have to pay attention to a girl's reputation. As Yi Lingjun carried out his duty as a father and seriously lectured his future son-in-law, footsteps were heard from upstairs. Baby, the sight of Yi Wanwan hazily pattering downstairs was spotted promptly after. Although Yi Wanwan couldn't even open her eyes, she still accurately sensed Si Yihan's location and walked toward him. Si Yihan's voice softened instantly. You're awake. After Yi Wanwan stopped behind the sofa, Si Yihan turned his head and Yi Wanwan naturally bent down and smacked a kiss on his cheeks before complaining, You promised you would sleep with me. How could you run off halfway? This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Yes. She completely ignored the second person sitting on the sofa across from Si Yihan. Si Yihan said, Wanwan, we aren't married yet, after all, so it'd be more appropriate if we slept in separate rooms. Disbelief filled Yi Wanwan's face instantly. What did you say? Sleep in separate rooms? You've known me for so long, did you think I was vegetarian? Si Yihan, Yi Lingjun was righteously lecturing his son-in-law seconds ago, but his face turned pure black when he heard his daughter. Si Yihan exasperatedly pushed away the girl plastered to him before pulling her down to sit next to him. President Yi's here. Only then did Yi Wanwan turn to the spot across from them. Dad, why are you here? Yi Lingjun, you finally discovered you still had a dad here. Chapter 2369, Have to hug the thigh to the max. Upon seeing Yi Lingjun's attitude and expression, Yi Wanwan immediately walked up with a smile and latched onto Yi Lingjun's arm. Dad, I heard you've helped Audiobook a lot with amending and re-evaluating the rules. Yi Lingjun pursed his lips. Not bad. You know about that. Of course. Audio's immensely grateful for all of your help and he tells me about it all day long. He said we must fulfill our filial duties well toward you in the future. Yi Wanwan was grinning. Yi Lingjun peered at Si Yihan from the corner of his eyes. This lad has a rather decent conscience. After receiving a reminder gaze from his wife, Si Yihan didn't respond and chose to agree tacitly. President, there's still a matter I need to report to you, Si Yihan said. Yi Lingjun saw Si Yihan's serious expression and also looked at him solemnly. What is it? Si Yihan briefly explained last night's incident to Yi Lingjun, who fell into contemplation afterward. Yi Lingjun had known that someone wanted to assassinate Yi Wanwan several days ago, so he gave her a treasure that would suffice as self-protection. He didn't expect Yi Wanwan to actually know her assassin and managed to weasel some information out of him. According to Si Yihan's conjecture, the mastermind was Vice President Qin while the one who made the request was the Yin family's adopted son, Yin Heng. If they used common sense to make this speculation, it appeared to be the case. However, what the Arbitration Council needed wasn't speculation, they needed evidence. Forget about the fact that everything was speculation. Even if they had an assassin testifying personally, it wouldn't be realistic to knock down the Vice President of the Arbitration Council. And this evidence had to be solid, actual evidence. The Arbitration Council absolutely wouldn't convict a person solely based on an assassin's one-sided testimony. There's no need for you to continue investigating and focus on the true mastermind, Yi Lingjun said to Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan a moment later. Yi Wanwan was startled, incomprehension written all over her face. Dad! How could we not investigate or focus on this matter? The one they want to assassinate is your precious daughter, the president of the Arbitration Council's precious daughter. They aren't targeting Yi Yunma, they're targeting you. How can you tolerate this? How could she relinquish her hold on her thick thigh? Yi Wanwan was determined to hug the thigh to the max. Yi Lingjun glanced at Yi Wanwan. How could he not understand this girl's thoughts? Do you think everyone else is as foolish as you? Since someone dared to hire an assassin to assassinate my daughter, regardless of whether they succeeded or not, they wouldn't fear an investigation from the Arbitration Council and must have thought of a foolproof plan. If it's really as you two think and it's Vice President Qin pulling the strings from behind, then there's even less reason to waste our time. Qin Zong won't permit you to discover anything. Forget about you two, but even I might not find anything. Si Yihan didn't say anything and pondered for a moment. In truth, Yi Lingjuan's words were very correct. The only opening in this matter was that assassin. However, even if the assassin was willing to violate his principles and step forward to testify against Vice President Qin and Yin Heng, where was the evidence? Who could guarantee it wasn't Yi Lingjun intentionally hiring an assassin to wrongly accuse Vice President Qin to pave the road for his daughter, Yi Yunma, and eradicate this barrier that prevented Yi Yunma from advancing to the position of the Arbitration Council's president? Pull one hair and the whole body moves. Unless they had absolute evidence, they would only be handing their leverage to the other person for them to bite back. Chapter 2370, Dad, this daughter was wrong. Dad, if it's as you say, oh, so there was an assassination attempt on me for nothing? Isn't being the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president too tragic? Anyone who wants to kill me can take a stab at it and we can't convict them. What kind of justice is this? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Yi Lingjun grimly considered it for a moment and actually nodded a second later. From the current looks of it, it appears that way. Yi Wanwan, she didn't want to be his daughter anymore. Yi Wanwan jubilantly suggested, President Yi, how about we pick a lucky day and break off our relationship as father and daughter? Yi Lingjuan's expression darkened instantly. Damn girl, I dare you to repeat that again. I will. I'm telling the truth anyway. Si Yihan exasperatedly reached out and patted the girl on the head. Wanwan, don't act so impolitely towards the president. Upon sensing the warmth on her head, Yi Wanwan immediately behaved docilely like a rabbit. Dad, this daughter was wrong. Yi Lingjun, huh? Sir President, since it's like this, we can investigate things on the side. Si Yihan proceeded to talk business. Yi Lingjun glared at Yi Wanwan before saying, that's feasible. If it's truly Vice President Qin controlling everything from behind the scenes, there must be two reasons why he wants to eliminate the president's daughter in such haste. First, Yi Yunma impeded his advancement to becoming the president. Second, Vice President Qin probably conducted shady dealings these past few years, and Yi Yunma would adhere to the custom of completely investigating the Arbitration Council after becoming the president, and there's a great probability that Vice President Qin's shady dealings would be discovered. Si Yihan provided his analysis. You're right. From what I know, Qin Zong has been involved in some dirty affairs. I didn't pay much heed before, but now, I will thoroughly investigate it. Yi Lingjun smiled faintly. Several days later, at the Yin estate, Yin Heng's expression was foreboding. He never expected Lord Yuan's assassination to end up in failure. Furthermore, Lord Yuan returned his down payment and gave up on this mission. Considering Feng Sha and Lord Yuan's strength, forget about assassinating merely Yi Yunma, but he should have succeeded even if his missions was to assassinate any higher-up of the Arbitration Council aside from Yi Lingjun. So why did he fail this time? Yin Heng didn't have time to delve into that train of thought deeply. The failure of this assassination attempt was a rather large risk for him. Although the Arbitration Council didn't possess any evidence, this matter was laid out on the table, and the president's mind must be as clear as a mirror that Vice President Qin was certainly connected to this incident. However, Vice President Qin wouldn't seek out an assassin himself while he, a member of the Yin family, would be the most appropriate person to complete the task. Ah Zhong, was what you said before true? Do Yi Yunma and Worryless Nye really look identical? Yin Heng questioned the man next to him. That's right. There aren't any mistakes. Madam has always held her suspicions, but she merely didn't succeed in her tests. I really can't figure out how such a coincidental matter could happen in the world, for two people to look identical who aren't twins, Ah Zhong quietly replied. Then is it possible that Yi Yunma and Worryless Nye are real sisters, or perhaps Worryless Nye once had some secret relationship with President Yi? Yin Heng said with a frown. Young master, that's impossible, right? Even if Worryless Nye's mother betrayed her father and had an affair with the president, Worryless Nye and Yi Yunma would share a mother at most and wouldn't come from the same father, so how could they look identical? Ah Zhong answered. Chapter 2371, Indeed had a child together. Yin Heng pondered over it for a moment before asking, when will Madam return? Madam was sent on a business trip by the president this time, and it will probably take at least a week, Ah Zhong answered. The corners of Yin Heng's mouth turned up. Good. When Mother returns, I will give Mother a big present. I will investigate what Mother wasn't able to find out myself. If Yin Heng discovered that Yi Yunma was being impersonated, then the person he wanted to assassinate wasn't the president's daughter. This way, if the assassination was attributed to him, Yi Lingjun wouldn't do anything to him, and the risk to him would be removed. Moreover, if that woman really was an imposter, he could say he was eliminating a spy. Not only would he not be in the wrong, but he would have also performed a meritorious deed. Young master, I'm afraid that won't be easy. Ah Zhong mulled over it momentarily. That woman isn't simple. Young master, think about it, even Madam couldn't do anything to her with her techniques. Last time, the third elder of the Fearless Alliance was following Madam and was captured, so Madam used him to test that woman, but the test didn't reveal anything. Even if that woman is being impersonated by Worryless Nye, she's a marble-hearted woman and has barely any flaws. A member of the Fearless Alliance, Yin Heng turned contemplative. Minutes later, the corners of Yin Heng's lips turned up and he snorted. Oh right, I heard Worryless Nye and Si Yihan have a little bastard together. They indeed have a child together, he's probably 4 or 5 years old. He's currently with Yun City's Nye family. Ah Zhong nodded. Great. Yin Heng nonchalantly continued with a smile. Worryless Nye doesn't care about the fate of an elder from the Fearless Alliance, but what about her biological son? I believe she wouldn't sit by and do nothing then, right? Young master, please prudently reconsider this. Sweat soaked Ah Zhong's forehead. It would be fine if that Yi Yunma was truly being impersonated by Worryless Nye, but if she isn't being impersonated and is really the president's daughter, if Yi Yunma truly isn't related to Worryless Nye in any manner and I capture Worryless Nye's son, it'd be none of Yi Yunma's business. Don't tell me Yi Yunma will make trouble for me simply because of a child she doesn't know. Yin Heng looked dismissive. That's true, but Yi Yunma isn't the person I'm worried about, young master. You have to understand one point, Worryless Nye's son is also Si Yihan's son. You should know what kind of person Si Yihan is. If you abduct Si Yihan's son, I'm afraid your situation, young master, Ah Zhong was hesitant. At the mention of the old methods of the eldest young master who left the Yin family, Ah Zhong felt a chill settle in his spine. A chilling glint sparkled in Yin Heng's eyes, and he coldly said, What? If Si Yihan's son ends up in my hands, do you think he'd still dare to act rashly? Anyway, Madam will return soon, so what's wrong with me bringing Madam's grandson here so that the child can spend some time with his grandmother? Is that a problem? Brilliant, young master, truly brilliant. If you put it like that, then there isn't the slightest problem. Ah Zhong gave him a thumbs up. Send several reliable people over there. I heard the child has been clever since he was young and possesses extremely high intelligence and vigilance. He isn't easy to fool, Yin Heng ordered. Ah Zhong disdainfully said, regardless of how clever he is, he's just a tiny child. Yin Heng's face darkened. Don't lower your guard. This matter absolutely doesn't allow for any mishaps. Ah Zhong replied, yes, this subordinate will make thorough preparations. Chapter 2372, How did you guess? Yin Heng ordered, that little bastard must have Si Yihan's people protecting him nearby. Mobilize the iron guards in my name. Otherwise, it would probably be very difficult to take him away. Ah Zhong was secretly shocked. Mobilize the iron guards, would that be too brazen? What if Madame finds out? Yin Heng's expression darkened, and he shot his confidant a cold glance. Mother handed the iron guards to me, so they're naturally my people and listen to my commands. Is there a problem with that? Although Ah Zhong still held on to his worries, he could do nothing but obey Yin Heng's orders in the end. On the surface, Yin Yuerong had handed the iron guards to Yin Heng, which was essentially the same as acknowledging Yin Heng's status as her heir. However, there were still many people in the Yin family standing on Si Yihan's side. It would be fine if Si Yihan didn't return. However, the moment Si Yihan returned, the will of the people wouldn't be with Yin Heng even if Yin Heng possessed the iron guards. Originally, Yin Heng still had a fighting chance after obtaining Qin Shiyuan's support. Who would have expected Yi Yunma to pop up out of nowhere and take a fancy to Si Yihan? Hence, the members of the Yin family were currently observing the circumstances and didn't dare to disclose their positions. In this kind of situation, it was no wonder Yin Heng felt anxious. In Yun City, in the evening, after school let out, several Nye family guards escorted Tang Tang home like usual. As the car drove smoothly and reached a slope, the wheels suddenly shook and the brakes were slammed urgently. Their car was stopped. Young master, be careful. Guards immediately guarded Tang Tang behind them, afraid he would be frightened. Tang Tang expressionlessly turned to the group of men in black, a thoughtful expression revealed on his fair face. Who dares to try to abduct our young master Nye? Do you want to die? A Nye family guard shouted coldly. The leading man icily demanded, hand over Nye Tangshao, and we can spare your lives. Who are you? You simply want to die. Midway through the guard's words, Tang Tang glanced at the men and expressionlessly said, you're from Tianshui City. He was clearly just a young child, but his eyes contained a depth that didn't match his age. Moreover, he didn't bear a trace of panic. When the leader heard this, he was startled. How did this child guess? Are you from the Yin family? Tang Tang continued. Yin family, from Tianshui City. What? From the Yin family? The expressions of several of the Nye family guards changed. How did you know? The leader wore a strange expression. If it was a guard who said that, he could understand, but this was a child. The men looked at each other, bewildered. People said the little young master of the Nye family was very intelligent, and he indeed appeared so. Tang Tang revealed a childish smile. I was guessing. I didn't expect to have guessed right. Guessed? The leader was suspicious but didn't think deeper when he met the eyes of the young child. Yin Heng issued an absolute order for this mission. Even if it was a life and death struggle, they still must take the child with them. They were still in Yun City, the Nye family's territory, after all, so to avoid alarming too many people, they had to make it a quick fight. If these people resisted, then everyone had to die. They couldn't delay any longer. The leader was about to order his men to kill everyone without mercy when his deputy suddenly walked toward Tang Tang and affably said, Ha, little young master, it's like this, your grandmother would like to see you, so can we please trouble you to come with us? Chapter 2373, He's too easy to deceive, right? Tang Tang looked up and tilted his head slightly, his fair face in full view. When he heard the mention of his grandmother, he appeared to have lowered his guard and appeared naive and innocent. Grandmother wants to see me. The deputy quickly said, That's right, that's right. As you said, we're from Tianshui City's Yin family, so we were naturally sent by your grandmother. Your grandmother wants us to pick you up. Upon seeing the deputy bewitching their young master, a nearby guard hastily said, Young master, you mustn't listen to these people's coercing words. People from Tianshui City are extremely dangerous, and you absolutely can't leave with them. A murderous aura flashed through the deputy's eyes. When Tang Tang heard this, he didn't show any care and waved his little hand. They're grandmother's people. I want to go with them to see grandmother. Those words produced a similar effect to saying, I know they're the big bad wolf, but I want to go home with them. The leader and deputy were both startled. It was just a careless remark, but this child agreed. He was too easy to deceive, right? Before coming here, Master clearly plied them with instructions on how difficult this child was, but it appeared they truly overestimated him. He was dumb no matter how you looked at it. As the little young master of the Nya family, how could he lack all traces of vigilance? Little young master, you can't. You absolutely can't. A guard anxiously protested. Let us inform your uncle first. As long as nameless Nya came, forget about the Yin family, but even Yin Yuerong herself wouldn't be able to take little young master away. No need to find my uncle. I also want to go see grandmother. You're all done now, so leave, everyone, Tang Tang ordered and also sent a warning glance at a hidden spot. The Nya family guards were dumbfounded. How could they allow this? Tang Tang glanced at the Nya family guards, his expression displeased. What? I can't order you now. He knew Daddy had sent some people over to protect him in hiding. However, this time, the other party evidently came prepared. If he wasn't mistaken, these were all the sharpest members of the Yin family's secret guards, the Iron Guards. All of them were experts and carried goo poison. If he didn't go with them, even if he managed to safely escape by luck, the people protecting him today would all die without a doubt. Most importantly, this way. Not only would Daddy and Mommy seek unending vengeance against the Yin family, but Yun City and Tianshui City would also erupt into a major battle. Uncle was still looking after Aunt-in-law in the hospital. Even if Uncle found out, he wouldn't be able to rush over in a short period of time, so leaving with them was Tang Tang's best option right now. Moreover, he was well aware that these people wouldn't dare to do anything to him regardless of which member of the Yin family sent them. Didn't you hear? Little young master wants to go and see his grandmother. It was nothing to do with you all. Scram! The deputy yelled fiercely. No. Absolutely no. You can't take little young master away. Even if it's as you said, you have to wait until young master nameless from the Nya family arrives first. You can only take little young master away if young master agrees, a Nya family guard persistently insisted. In the end, the group of Nya family guards was knocked to the ground. The power differential was too great. They were no match for the Yin family at all. In the dark, the people who Si Yihan sent to protect Tang Tang fell into a dilemma. What should we do? Should we attack? Yeah, if we don't attack, young master will be taken away. Chapter 2374, A Dragon's Wrath. The leader of that group spoke, his expression unchanged. Master instructed us to obey young master's orders completely. Young master issued an order just now and prohibited us from attacking. That's too foolish. What if young master is in danger? We won't be able to pay for that even if we had 10 heads. Plus, boss, he might be young master, but he's still a child. How could you listen to him completely? The leader coldly glanced at his men. Insolence. Regardless of how old he is, he's still young master. Moreover, don't underestimate young master. Then the leader ordered, everyone, don't attack. Secretly follow and protect him. In the end, the guards who were knocked down could only watch helplessly as the people from the Yin family took Tang Tang away. Soon, one of the guards rapidly dialed Nameless Nye's number. When Nameless Nye learned Tang Tang was taken away, he immediately left the hospital and rushed to the guard's location. However, by the time Nameless Nye arrived, the people from the Yin family had long disappeared. At Tianshui City, Yi Wanwan was currently speaking with Medusa in the mansion. Medusa was discussing the latest situation with Yi Wanwan. Wow, I seriously admit defeat to that woman, Yin Yuerong. What kind of grievances and enmities does she have? I heard she's been traveling everywhere recently and mobilizing all the power she can. From the looks of it, she absolutely won't allow the bill to pass. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin. Is there really no method to persuade her? Medusa looked at her in shock. Persuade Yin Yuerong? Are you kidding me? Women like her absolutely won't change their minds about something they've decided on regardless of the factors. Yi Wanwan's expression was exasperated. That's true. At that moment, Yi Wanwan's phone started ringing abruptly. It was nameless Nya calling. Hey, Worryless. What is it, brother? Yi Wanwan asked. Worryless, where are you? Nameless Nya sounded extraordinarily anxious. I'm still in Tianshui City. Did something happen? Yi Wanwan frowned. When Tang Tang was released from school, he was stopped by people from the Yin family and was taken away by them, Nameless Nya replied. What did you say? Yi Wanwan's expression changed drastically. Tang Tang was abducted? Astonishment also appeared on Medusa's face. The guards responsible for protecting Tang Tang said it was Tang Tang's grandmother who wanted to see Tang Tang, Nameless Nya explained. Brother Yi, are you certain it was the Yin family? Yi Wanwan asked hastily. I'm certain. I already looked into it just now, and it was the Yin family without a doubt. However, it couldn't have been Yin Yuerong who wants to see Tang Tang. The next few days are key for revising the bill, and Yin Yuerong went on a business trip to retrieve an important document 2 days ago. She's been utterly exhausted from overwork recently, so there's no way she'd touch Tang Tang at a time like this, Yi Wanwan analyzed. If it wasn't Yin Yuerong, who else could it be? I investigated it and discovered the abductors were members of the Yin family's Iron Guards. They're Yin Yuerong's direct secret guards. Nameless Nya was befuddled. A chilly glint flitted through Yi Wanwan's eyes. I have a general idea of who's responsible. Brother, seal off the news for now. I'll take care of Tang Tang. But, don't worry. I won't allow anything to happen to Tang Tang. Yi Wanwan steadied her voice. Not long after Yi Wanwan hung up, she received a text on her phone. The sender was an unfamiliar number, and it contained an invite for her to visit the Yin family. Soon, a second message came. It was Tang Tang's photo. Yin Heng, you're dead. Yi Wanwan's eyes glinted icily as she stared at Tang Tang's photo. No one could use her baby to threaten her. A dragon had wrath, which could be incurred at a touch. Chapter 2375, No need for the trouble. The phone was slapped onto the table with a bang, the screen shattering into a web. Because she held the identity of both Worryless Nya and Yi Yunma, there were 2 SIM cards installed on her phone. And Yin Heng's 2 messages were sent to Yi Yunma's number. Medusa also discovered this, and her expression turned serious. Yin Heng is suspicious of your identity. He intentionally sent these 2 text messages to Yi Yunma. If Yi Yunma was Yi Lingjuan's daughter, the texts he sent would be fine. The first text was an invitation for her to visit the Yin estate, while the second text was Tang Tang's photo. He could say he sent it as a mistake, but he could also be informing Yi Yunma about the existence of Si Yihan's illegitimate child. He could explain it any way he wanted. However, if Yi Yunma was Yi Wanwan would naturally understand the meaning of this second text and his objective would be achieved. Medusa cursed quietly. I didn't expect Yin Heng to use such a crafty move and to even threaten you with a child. Little junior sister, you mustn't take the bait. Otherwise, as soon as you seek him out, it'd be the same as telling him you're Worryless Nya and you would fall into his trick. Yi Wanwan remained silent the entire time. She naturally knew that. Medusa continued, Little junior sister, I'll go to the arbitration council building to find Master right now. Wait for news from me before doing anything. Yi Wanwan calmly stood up and glanced at Medusa. Senior sister, no need for the trouble. Then what are you preparing to do? What will I do? The storm and iciness in Yi Wanwan's eyes enveloped her surroundings. Doesn't he want to expose my true identity? I'll do as he wishes. Yi Wanwan walked out. Half a minute later, the sound of a sports car's ignition was heard, quickly followed by the sight of Yi Wanwan darting through the mansion gates in her sports car and speeding toward the Arbitration Council building. Medusa couldn't catch up to Yi Wanwan and could only spin in circles in her panic as she watched her little junior sister speeding away. She hastily ran to the garage to grab her own car. Shit! I better hurry and chase after her. At the same time, in the Yin estate, a banquet was currently being held in the Yin estate. Today, Yin estate had specifically invited Qin Zong, Qin Shiyuan, and many higher-ups and managers from the Arbitration Council. Now that he'd basically taken over the Yin family, Yin Heng thought he should naturally hold a banquet and invite these higher-ups as the future head of the family. Everyone, please make yourselves at home. The president will arrive shortly. Yin Heng politely greeted the higher-ups with a toast, acting as a family head would. Mr. Yin is truly young and promising. That's right, no wonder you made Miss Qin fall for you. Amongst the higher-ups present, many of them supported and thought highly of Yin Heng. To them, Si Yihan's abilities and status might be much higher than Yin Heng, but he was truly too difficult to predict and he acted too tactlessly. For the second miss of the Nye family, he not only played guarantor for her using his position of director but he also wanted to marry her. Even if he obtained the president's favor right now and was well regarded, he would still probably fall behind Yin Heng in the future. After all, Yin Heng not only had the support of the Yin family behind him but also had immense assistance in the form of Miss Qin. What a pity. If Si Yihan was smarter and chose Miss Yi, this situation could have been greatly different. Yin Heng already informed Qin Shiyuan of his plan, so Qin Shiyuan was rather impatient right now and kept shooting glances toward the entrance. If worryless Nya, that little bitch, was really this suicidal, that would be splendid. You're too polite, everyone. It's all thanks to the care of every senior here. Yin Heng downed the wine in his glass before imperceptibly glancing at the time on his phone. Chapter 2376, Hand over the person. Yi Yunma definitely saw the message already. If she was truly being impersonated by worryless Nya, then she would have arrived by now. The purpose of the banquet tonight was not only to socialize with the higher-ups of the Arbitration Council but to also set up a foolproof trap for worryless Nya. At the table, drinks were exchanged and conversation flowed. At this moment, a loud commotion was heard from the entrance. Miss E. Miss E, do you need something? Miss E, there's a banquet inside right now. Allow me to announce your presence first. Miss E, scram, a girl in a tight, red dress with a tang backsword sitting on her waist was marching toward the dining hall like a blazing inferno. Immediately, everyone in the dining hall reflexively turned to the entrance. Isn't that Miss E? Why did Miss E also come? Everyone knew Yi Yunma never attended this kind of function, so they were all surprised by her appearance. When Yin Heng saw the newcomer, he was startled for a moment before mad joy rushed into his heart. Yi Yunma came. She really came. Although Yin Heng was ecstatic, his expression remained calm and collected. He nonchalantly stood up and courteously greeted the girl. What a rare guest, what a rare guest. I knew Miss E preferred the quiet, so I didn't invite Miss E. May I ask why Miss E is gracing us with your presence this late in the day? Yin Heng especially emphasized that he didn't invite her and she came of her own volition. When Yi Wanwan didn't say anything, Yin Heng purposely asked again, why did you come here today, Miss E? Yi Wanwan still remained silent and strode forward, stopping in front of Yin Heng. Miss, Yin Heng had just uttered one word when a loud bang rang in the room a second later, and Yin Heng was sent flying back with a smack from Yi Wanwan. The chair behind Yin Heng shattered from the impact and Yin Heng slammed into a giant flower vase the height of an adult before crashing into the wall like a snipped kite. Cough 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 cough, Yin Heng had yet to recover and was using an arm to raise himself up a little when another bang was heard. Yi Wanwan stepped on his chest with her foot, the horrifying sound of bones shattering ringing in everyone's ears. Pu. Yin Heng couldn't endure it anymore and twisted his head, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. This abrupt scene left everyone stupefied. Dead silence enveloped the room and everyone was frozen in their spots, unable to react from the enormous shock. Yuanwan was akin to a Rakshasa who brought hell to the mortal realm. The dining hall was joyous and harmonious mere moments ago but had now turned into purgatory with a murderous intent flooding the hall. The girl kept her foot on Yin Heng's chest as she leaned closer, enunciating each word carefully as she asked, "Ha, you don't know why I came here? Do you know, now?" You, Yin Heng started but spat out another mouthful of blood. He calculated every possibility but never expected Yuanwan to attack him so publicly and so ruthlessly. Also, what was the deal with this woman's martial strength? From the information she obtained, worryless Nye might have been very strong maritally but definitely wasn't so strong that he had no room for retaliation. There was a second when he nearly thought she was going to kill him. Yuanwan's expression didn't contain a trace of warmth. "I will give you 3 seconds, hand him over." Chapter 2377, I'm your great-aunt worryless Nye. Yin Heng quickly calmed himself down and confidently stared at the girl before him. He mockingly ridiculed, "Miss E, I did capture someone, but the person I captured is the son of worryless Nye and my eldest brother, Nye Tang Shao. However, what does this have to do with you? If someone were to panic, it should be worryless Nye. You merely look similar to worryless Nye. You aren't that child's mother, so why are you this anxious? Don't tell me you really are worryless Nye." Yin Heng pressed, "Miss E Yunma, could it be you've been worryless Nye all along? You've impersonated the president's daughter." Worryless Nye was still too inexperienced. He originally thought she'd be tricky to handle and would contend with him in some manner. He didn't expect that the mere act of kidnapping Nye Tang Shao would be enough to rattle her and make her reveal herself. How could the dumbfounded crowd still remain clueless about the circumstances? Worryless Nye impersonated President Yi's daughter, Yi Yunma, and Yin Heng abducted worryless Nye's son, causing worryless Nye to reveal her own identity in her panic. Qin Shiyuan clutched her mouth exaggeratedly, showing an expression of disbelief. "Oh my god. Is it true? Worryless Nye actually impersonated the president's daughter, Miss Yi Yunma?" Following Qin Shiyuan's exclamation, other people started reacting. "I was wondering why 2 completely different people could look so similar. She actually dared to impersonate even the president's daughter. Isn't she too gutsy? Does this woman want to die? Does she know what she's doing?" Qin Shiyuan glanced at Yuanwan and murmured with feigned suspicion, "But what's her objective for doing this?" Someone immediately replied, "A spy. She must be a spy sent by an evil cult. This woman had dubious connections with the Rose of Death previously. Now she infiltrated the Arbitration Council, she must have ulterior motives." Qin Shiyuan nodded as though a realization dawned on her. "That's true. Why else would she impersonate the president's daughter and sneak her way in here? She must have ulterior motives. Thank goodness Yin Heng discovered her in time, or else the consequences would have been simply unimaginable." As Yin Heng listened to the accusations of the higher-ups around him, he revealed a satisfied smile. Finally, everything would end. The matter of worryless Nye impersonating the president's daughter was exposed, and the danger would be eliminated. Worryless Nye was done for. At the same time, Si Yihan, who had acted as a guarantor for her, was also done for. By abducting a little bastard, Yin Heng eradicated all of his obstacles in one go and also accomplished a meritorious deed. Yin Heng brazenly looked at Yuanwan. "How about it, Miss E? Am I correct? Oh, perhaps I should address you as Miss Worryless Nye now." "Ha, you're wrong," Yuanwan chuckled lowly, her chuckle inexplicably sending shivers down listeners' backs. Yuanwan paused for a moment before enunciating her next words carefully. "I am your great aunt worryless Nye." Yin Heng's expression darkened, and he promptly exclaimed frantically, "You admitted it. You finally admit you impersonated Yi Yunma. You impersonated President Yi's daughter. Worryless Nye, you're seriously too gutsy. You impersonated the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president and attempted to spy on confidential information and entangle yourself with an evil cult. Every single one of your deeds is punishable by death. Yuanwan impatiently picked at her ears before putting force to her foot and completely breaking one of his ribs. You have 3 seconds to release my baby. Otherwise, you'll see whether you or I die first. Chapter 2378, Her whole family includes me, HH. A wretched scream escaped from Yin Heng from the intense pain. On the side, Vice President Qin Zong wore a pitying expression and advised in a heartfelt manner, Miss Worryless Nya, don't hurt nephew Yin. I implore you to surrender peacefully. Yuanwan ignored Qin Zong and started counting. 3. Upon seeing this woman completely ignore him, the vice president, Qin Zong's expression looked terrible. You absolutely can't escape from your crimes now, but if you relent, perhaps you can strive for your family's survival still. 2. Yuanwan yelled. Yin Heng sensed the terrifying murderous aura from the woman before him and sweat drenched his forehead. This woman had gone mad. She really dared to kill him. Yin Heng suddenly discovered he was positioned on extremely dangerous forbidden ground. There was a great possibility Qin Zong wouldn't care about his survival. Yin Heng hastily said, Worryless Nya, think carefully. If I die, your son also won't survive. The second Yin Heng said that, Yuanwan didn't shout, one, and directly stomped on him again. Kachak. The sound of another rib shattering. At this moment, a furious roar abruptly erupted from the entrance. Yun Ma. Stop. This low voice sent the whole room into a grim silence and every pair of eyes simultaneously shot toward the entrance. Yi Lingjun arrived in a flurry. Yun Ma, what are you doing? Yin Heng released a sigh of relief when he saw Yi Lingjun, as though he'd seen his savior. President, save me. This vixen impersonated your daughter. Qin Zong walked toward Yi Lingjun before explaining, President, calm down. This woman isn't your daughter, Yi Yunma. She's actually the second daughter of Yun City's Nye family, Worryless Nye. Qin Shiyuan piped in, that's right, President. This woman admitted it herself just now. I think it's not only her. Her entire Nye family should be interrogated. It's very possible her whole family is related to an evil cult. Yi Lingjun coldly glanced at Qin Shiyuan, the pressure of a superior instantly flooding out. Her whole family is related to an evil cult. Miss Qin, are you implying that I, the president, am also related to an evil cult? Qin Shiyuan panicked and fretfully replied, why would you think that, President? That's not what I meant. I was talking about Worryless Nye's whole family. Yi Lingjun expressionlessly said, I'm her father, so when you say her whole family, it naturally includes me. You're her father. Qin Shiyuan thought Yi Lingjun still didn't understand the situation, so she quickly explained, President, are you still confused? This woman isn't your beloved daughter, Yi Yunma, she's Worryless Nye. Yin Heng abducted Worryless Nye's son, but Yi Yunma came running here and demanding the child back, directly admitting she's Worryless Nye. With so many pairs of eyes watching, it's absolutely true. She is that lowly woman. Yi Lingjuan's face turned icy. That's correct. Worryless Nye is my daughter. Worryless Nye is the president's daughter. A commotion swept through the room following Yi Lingjuan's words, and everyone's eyes shot open in shock. Qin Shiyuan's pupils contracted abruptly, and she stared incredulously at Yi Lingjun. Yin Heng's expression also changed. What did Yi Lingjun just say? Worryless Nye is his daughter. Has the president gone muddle-headed? At this moment, Medusa, who had followed Yi Lingjun, glanced at Yin Heng and Qin Zong before coldly asking, did you think the president would be so foolish that he'd mistake his own daughter? Chapter 2379, acted out a whole play this, everyone was dumbfounded, confused about everything going on. Medusa continued, as everyone knows, the president has students covering the earth but only lacked a personal disciple. And the second Miss of Yun City's Nye family, Miss Worryless Nye, is the only personal disciple that Sir President accepted. She's my little junior sister. Little junior sister was injured earlier and was stranded in China, thus losing contact with master for many years. They only reunited recently. What? Worryless Nya is the president's long-lost personal disciple. Shit. No one expected Worryless Nya to possess this alternate identity. Medusa said, Worryless Nya and my master are close like father and daughter, so how could she be a spy? If she wanted to spy on the Arbitration Council's secrets, would she have had to go about it so complicatedly? Nobody could refute Medusa. Since she's the president's personal disciple, how did she become the president's daughter? Don't tell me she's the illegitimate daughter of President and Madame Nye? Qin Shiyuan questioned from the side. Medusa's expression chilled. Nonsense. How could you rashly spout this kind of slander? This kind of matter absolutely couldn't occur based on Yi Lingjuan's personality. If that had happened, it'd be the same as Yi Lingjuan's public image collapsing, and it would also immensely impact his reputation. Since that's not it, why did Miss Worryless Nya appear as Yi Yunma out of nowhere? There must be a reason, right? A director next to Qin Zong asked, and the other directors all nodded in agreement. At this moment, the silent Yi Wanwan raised her foot and released Qin Zong momentarily only to use her other foot to step on him again. She then turned to Qin Zong and asked with raised brows, Vice President Qin, shouldn't you know best why I would appear using the identity of Yi Yunma and present myself as the president's daughter in front of everyone? Qin Zong's expression darkened. Me? You must be joking, Miss Nye. Why would I know? Oh. You don't know. That's fine, I'll explain it to you slowly. Yi Wanwan snorted. These years, you've used your position as the vice president of the Arbitration Council to stuff your pockets and indulge in bribery and fraud. Who knows how many shady dealings you've conducted in secret? According to your plan, the position of the next president would belong to you. At that time, your power would be all-encompassing, those matters naturally wouldn't come to light, and you could continue to use the position of president to seek your personal gains. However, who could have expected President Yi to suddenly have a daughter he spoiled with no limits? If you didn't witness the sudden introduction of President Yi's daughter, if you didn't think President Yi had intentions for his daughter to succeed his position, why would you be driven to desperate action and resort to assassinating me, assassinating Yi Yunma? If it wasn't for that, why would you have messed up your own plans and destroyed all evidence of your crimes these past years in such haste that I managed to obtain information against you? My master has extensive foresight and knew about the things you've done long ago, but he didn't have evidence, so he colluded with me to act out this play and make you reveal your flaws so that he could eradicate you, a malignant tumor concealed in the Arbitration Council. Yi Wanwan spoke righteously and honorably from start to end. Yi Lingjun was dumbfounded and nearly also believed what she said was true. As for Qin Zong, his expression was still composed at first but darkened as he listened. When he heard the last sentence, his expression changed drastically and he furiously shouted, "Little bitch, you're spouting nonsense. What assassination? What evidence? Utter nonsense."